yourself. That is your magic.
Listen, Simone, don't believe in yourself.
Huh?
Believe in me. Believe in the Kamina who believes in you.
Carpe diem.
Excuse me?
Carpe diem. It's Latin for seize the day.
Or something similar to that are statements you've probably heard before if you've watched some form of children's programming or watched the Trigger anime. To some, these statements are nothing more than naive optimism spouted off by kids who will contribute nothing more to the world than working some dead-end retail job. But to others, those who are brave enough to risk it all, to them, these statements are motivators to work harder, to make the impossible possible through grit, hard work, some belief, and a hint of friendship. Or maybe I've been watching way too much shonen anime. Either way, this idea of defying all odds to make your dreams come true is a concept older than me, which isn't really saying much because like most things are older than me, but shh. Not important. This is obviously an idea I love to death, and the show that I think does a concept like this the best is Studio Trigger's 2017 anime, Little Witch Academia, and specifically the Little Witch herself, Atsuko Kagari. Hey, I'm Denoyle, and I love Little Witch Academia. The concept of defying all those around you to follow your dream through unbeatable odds is one that I have a soft spot for. Probably because I have a tendency to dream bigger than I really have any right to. Let's be real here. I guess here's a spoiler warning for, well, however many minutes we're here. If you haven't seen the show, then watch it. It's good, it's made by Trigger, and it's really sweet, with a super endearing main character. So, yeah, I guess I should stop procrastinating and actually dive into the analysis of this fictional character and how we can learn to follow our own dreams. To actually analyze this character, we need to understand her, so let's talk about the little witch with huge dreams, Atsuko Kagari, or Akko for short. Akko is a 16-year-old first-generation witch, which basically means she is the first person in her family to become a witch. Akko is very kind and selfless, but she is also extremely impatient and stubborn. When Akko was younger, she watched a magic show by her soon-to-be idol Shining Chariot. Later on, we learn that during the show, a portion of Akko's magic was stolen from her without her knowing. After watching Chariot shine, Akko wanted to become a witch who spreads happiness around the world, just like her idol. Akko collected and studied everything she could get her hands on, magic and witch-related, despite having no connection to that world. It's also revealed in the third episode that Akko once tried to ride a broom and sustained multiple injuries. Probably because of this, and some convenient dumb luck, Akko was accepted into Leonova. On her first day there, she proceeds to almost die in a magic broom crash of her own doing and trespass into a sacred forest, where she almost gets killed by a giant chicken that she personally pissed off. While in that forest, she finds the Wanderer Idol, the Climb Solos, or as they call in the show, the Shiny Rod. You know, typical first day jitters. During the course of the anime, Akko's mission is to collect/awaken the 7 words of Arcturus, to break the seal in the Grand Triskelion, which is the world-altering magic. Her reasoning for collecting these words is to meet Chariot, which on brand for her, but for me, I believe they can essentially be used as landmarks for her character growth / her personality. So we will be splitting this video into 7 parts to discuss different aspects of her character. For those of you who don't know what the words are, let me tell you. These are the 7 words in the order Akko obtained them. Also, pardon my pronunciation. They're like off-brand Latin, if not actual Latin. I'm not actually sure. Either way, here's the 7 words. Note Orfei, Arden Fraetor. Or, those that try to achieve their dream must go through hardships. There may come times when you fail and lose sight of that dream, but you must never let that flame in your heart go out. Burn that flame brightly and strive for your ideal place. Phaidoari, Afairynghor, or you do not get the things you dream of, you get the things you work for. Arae, or do not compare yourself with others. Do what only you can do. Mayenab, Dysheebudo, or to see it through, patience is important. Sybilladura, Lelladybura, or when traditional and modern powers mingle, the gate to an unseen world will open. Lyonne, or thank you. And finally, Phasansheer, Shearylla, or connect with other people and your dreams will grow. Now that we are on the same page, let's start with word 1. Note Orfei, Arden Fraetor. In the story, Akko obtains this word when Susie tricks her and Lotte into being bait for the aforementioned giant chicken. During this endeavor, Lotte gets hurt and this scene awakens not only the wand, but the first word.
If we don't hurry, we won't make it to the ceremony. Ah, my knee. It hurts. I don't think I'll make it. No, we can do this. We can't give up after coming this far. I won't give up. My story's about to begin. Extend your hand. Adventure awaits. My heart is pounding. And my head is spinning. But I will become a witch. Hey, Bats. I'd know that wand anywhere.
This quote sits at the core of this word, that being to never give up on your dreams no matter how hard the road may seem. And this message, fittingly enough, is also the core of Akko's character. I stated earlier that Akko collected everything she could find related to witches and magic, and that she had scars from even trying to fly a broom. With this word, I would like to highlight Akko's second greatest trait, next to her willingness to help literally anyone and everyone, and that is her determination. As I mentioned earlier, even though her and Lotte were in the worst possible position, you know, not only about to die, but even more importantly, about to get expelled from Lunova before they even started. Lotte had given up, but not Akko. Probably because she's a little stupid, but shh, it's endearing, I promise. Akko simply said that, we'll make it. Why should they give up after coming so far? This is what caused the Rod to choose her in the first place. This aspect of Akko is also shown in the episode where the Sorcerer's Stone is stolen by dragons. After watching the stone get stolen, Akko and Amanda tell the headmistress what happened. They're told to wait for the adults to solve the issue and to do free manual labor, even though these kids are most definitely paying exorbitant amounts of money to even go to the school. Sorry, tangent, where was I? Oh, yeah. Akko's told to sit down and wait, but she has other plans. She manages to roll a nat 20 in her charisma check and convince her classmates to come with her on a suicide mission to get the stone back. Everyone is on board except for Diana, who tells her that if she struggles with her magic normally, she stands no chance up against a dragon. Akko, being Akko, disagrees. She goes despite Diana's honestly well-intentioned but poorly spoken warning. When they go to get the stone back, they're captured by Fafnir, the dragon who stole the stone. It's revealed that the dragons they were fighting were just a security system. Fafnir says that he simply took the stone as insurance since Lunova hasn't paid back the loans they took out for the stone, and that he's going to destroy Lunova and sell for scraps to get his money back. Akko hears this and starts berating him. She tells him that she won't let him destroy Lunova because she still has a dream to fulfill. Then Diana comes in, saves the day, and girl bosses all over that dragon, telling the dragon that she already read the contract for what Lunova should be paying him, and tells him that they already paid him back tenfold. The day is saved by Diana, and all the witches start to go home as, well, this interaction happens.
There isn't a need for dragons or witches in this day and age. With science on the rise, magic is doomed to become obsolete in the very near future.
That won't happen. Even now, magic continues to move people's hearts.
That's rich. It's been a while since I've heard anyone say something so naive.
Just wait. I'm gonna become a great witch, and the entire world will be amazed by me.
Oh yeah? So I'm guessing that's the dream you mentioned then.
Yes.
You'll have to learn the hard way that dreams aren't worth chasing after.
Goodbye, Gramps. Try not to be so greedy next time.
I didn't know there were still humans with that sparkle in their eyes.
Fafnir's character is one aspect of the main conflict of the series, that being innovation versus tradition, which is a topic for another day if you're interested. Let me know. But the reason I'm bringing this scene up is to once again highlight Akko's unwavering determination and charm. Even in the face of a dragon who just threatened to tear down the entire school and sell for scraps, she's not only able to have a normal conversation with him, but also match him on a philosophical level on whether magic has a place in the world or not. And Fafnir mentions that a lot of this comes from Akko's unflinching naivety, but it's that naivety that allows her to have a very unique and optimistic outlook on the world. While most of the adults and even some of the students only see the decline, Akko only sees possibilities. I would like to bring attention to Fafnir's final line. I didn't know there were still humans with that sparkle in their eyes. That sparkle is her determination, the fire that keeps her going. Speaking of that sparkle, I'd like to highlight another scene later on in the series. In the episode where Akko and crew sneak into Andrew's party and let loose a love bee, Akko catches Andrew and his father having a conversation about getting rid of the witches, and that he doesn't have time for distractions. Akko listens into this conversation, and after the father leaves, Akko comes in and mocks Andrew with this conversation.
Well, what are you waiting for? Kicking us out isn't any harder than quitting the piano. Who knew you were just a coward who listens to whatever his dad tells him to do?
I highly respect my father, both as the head of the Hanbridge estate, as well as an esteemed politician. It's my duty to follow in his footsteps.
Your duty? What about following your dreams? You do have your own dream, don't you?
You would never understand. There are some people who are fated to uphold their proud lineage.
Okay, so maybe I'm not noble or rich. But I do have a dream. I'm gonna be a great witch. Just like Shiny Chariot. I'm still just a witch in training, but following my dream has been so much fun. Anytime I think of Chariot's warm smile, it makes the whole world shine bright. I'm sure someone like you wouldn't understand at all. Are you making fun of me? I'm serious!
The rest of the scene is Akko and Andrew flirting, which is really cute, but not important. We'll talk about the relationship later in the video, though. I wanted to highlight this scene now because, once again, it shows Akko reaffirming her dream and inspiring others by being unapologetically her. This one conversation essentially starts Andrew off on his own character arc just because he was inspired by Akko's readiness to throw caution to the wind to make her dream come true. Speaking of people being inspired by Akko, during the magic festival, Akko spent multiple weeks practicing transformation magic so she can make everyone happy. One night, Lotte and Susie have this conversation.
It's been 3 weeks. She's really been working hard. 3 weeks and 3 days, actually, and nothing to show for it. Hey, Susie, why do you suppose Akko is the person that she is? She always reaches for things that are outside her grasp, even if she falls over trying. I think she just doesn't know when to call it quits. Yeah, but I admire that about her.
This scene does a good job of showing Akko's way of inspiring others. You might have also realized a common pattern of Akko's desire to follow her dream, contrasted really nicely against someone who gave up on following their dreams because it was convenient, or someone else forced them to. Remember and follow this contrast because we'll get back to it way later. Now, I know I've been showing you all the ways Akko is an inspiration for others and showing you her unflinching march towards her final goal, but much like Akko, this word does mention that there may come times when you fail and lose sight of that dream. Many times in this story, you'll see Akko become visibly upset or frustrated for not being able to learn a spell or because someone put her down, but Akko always bounces back from this, like in the Orange Submariner episode, when Akko kept getting upset that she might get expelled, but after a few seconds of moping, she'd pop right back up with a reinvigorated determination to succeed. Or in Pajol's ordeal, when Akko was forced to walk in the freezing cold back from the Yeti's house to rescue everyone. She started hallucinating and was about to give up, but refused.
Gotta hurry. Just a little bit longer now. They're waiting for me. Just give up, Akko. You're making things too difficult for yourself. Don't worry about it, okay? Somebody else will take care of it. It's not like you're some big superhero or anything. I guess you're right. Akko! Is that how you really feel? It's painful and grueling. Even so, I'll do it!
She almost succumbs to the temperatures, but instead she perseveres. Like I said, this constant of almost giving up then quickly becoming determined happens many times in the series, but a lot of those times I want to bring up later as part of a bigger description. That being said, there are 3 scenes I would like to highlight with Akko at some of her lowest points. The first scene is in the second episode, Phaidoari. This scene is right after Akko is put down by Diana and crew for being bad at magic. In her depressed state, she starts looking at her cards and, well, let's let the scene speak for itself.
Just believe in yourself. That is your magic. So it's been 10 years since you disappeared, huh? I wonder what Shearylla's been doing these days. It doesn't seem like anybody even knows where to find her. Akko, was it hard to find all those cards you have in your collection? Yeah, they were hard to come by when I was a kid. Back then, shiny Chariot was really popular. Just believe in yourself. That's your magic. I never could get my hands on this one premium card. I really wanted it. This mushroom is supposed to rekindle romance. It's a unicorn, an eternal holy creature, the protector of happiness. You memorized it? Well, yeah. I'm not really sure of some of the pronunciation, but I've memorized all of them. I know this one. It's a magic butterfly. Phaidoari, a butterfly that can fly long distances. It hatches once every century, and is said to give hope to anyone who gazes upon it.
In this scene, you can see Akko fail Diana and, for a second, lose sight of her dream. She starts bittersweetly reminiscing on her life, and honestly, that's the best way I can describe the scene's mood, is bittersweet. The way Akko talks in it, you can tell that even then, she's unsure if she's able to make her dream come true. The way she talks about the cards, you can tell that they give her hope. She studied these cards because it was her only connection to magic at the time, which shows how dedicated she is to this dream. I adore the subtlety of this scene a lot. The contrast between her hopeful optimism and her insecurities is played really well here. Also, the voice actor did a great job selling the bittersweet feel of this episode. And also, I don't really have anywhere to put this, but Akko's English voice actor, Erica Mendez, also voices Megumin from Konosuba, which makes far too much sense. I guess she just has a knack for voicing chaotic witches trying to follow their dreams. Anyways, back to Akko. The other scene that does a great job showing the depressed Akko almost giving up on her dream is in episode 23, Yesterday. This is the scene after Diana finds Akko in the cold because she got upset learning Chariot's secret. Later in this video, I'll discuss Akko and Diana's relationship and how it relates back to this scene, so we won't dwell on it too much on that aspect, so just watched Akko at her worst state yet, so here's the scene.
Listen, Akko, there's something that I'd like to show you. A premium chariot card? I understand that you were an avid collector. But why would you have something like this? When I was little, I was a big admirer of Shiny Chariot as well. What? You were a fan? Is that really true? More than you could know. I remember early on, she had already been drawing some controversy. I had to collect these in secret as a result. Being able to go see her show seemed to be an impossibility. Even so, that didn't stop me from dreaming about it. Then one day, my mother arranged a trip overseas and fulfilled my dream at last. Huh? You traveled just to see her show? We did, to your country. So we saw the same performance. It was wonderful. I recall that night as if it were yesterday.
But in actuality, there was a time when she couldn't use magic.
So, that was the reason why you couldn't use magic back then? You already knew about all that? I did. I heard it from Andrew. He also told me how you never gave up. It worked hard to be able to use your magic again. Is that so? What happened to us was unfortunate. There's no denying that fact. But I have no sympathy for you. I'm certain you can regain your power. What I've gone through should be proof of that fact. I should have known. That's so you. Both our powers were absorbed in exactly the same way. But you worked really hard and became an amazing witch. Meanwhile, here I am, still not being able to fly yet. Do you know why I didn't give up back then? Wasn't it so you could become the head of your family? Certainly that was part of it. But if that had been my only motivation, I would have surely become overwhelmed and given up long ago. We're actually quite similar. What? Just like you, I was so enchanted by Chariot's magic. I remember when I saw her for the first time. My heart was pounding so hard from excitement. It was then that I realized how much I loved magic. That amazing feeling she left me with is what gave me the strength to keep going and persevere. However, the more I learned about magic, the more I learned of the expectations people had for me. And so in due time, I grew apart from Chariot. I had to leave childish things in the past. I convinced myself that I had to grow up and locked those dreams away. But the reason I chose to go to Lunanova was because that was the school Chariot attended. To be honest, I didn't much care for you when we first met. Why? You kept talking about how much you loved Chariot, and you were so bad at your studies. You would do all sorts of reckless things which would get everyone else into trouble. Yet somehow, you managed to pull off these amazing feats I could never do. Your magic had a strange charm to it. I envied you. I really did. Come on, that's impossible. Come to think of it, perhaps the reason I wanted to leave Lunanova was because I wanted to get away from you. Because I knew that you were closer to Chariot than I would ever be. Diana! I want to give this to you. Perhaps its message will help you. Is believing in myself really enough, though? I know it is. That's what makes you special, Akko. That magic within you, no one else can rival. Lottie! I'm so glad you're here! Hey, it's okay. You're not actually leaving, right? Huh? Are you gonna pack up and quit school? Lottie. No, of course not. I've still gotta chase my dream. I won't leave until that happens.
This scene is a really good example of Akko bouncing back up from the deepest pits of despair. This is the lowest we've seen Akko ever in this anime, and it takes Diana opening up to Akko for her to start believing again. Diana touches upon a lot of what I've been saying in this section. I especially like the line where Diana tells Akko that she feels no sympathy for her. That line is the kickstart that Akko needed. She gets to see that her dream is possible because Diana went through the exact same struggles and came out as one of the best witches of her time. To Akko, this is enough proof to her that all is not lost, that she'll eventually be able to fly, and this scene had to come from Diana. No one else could have made Akko realize this. The other line I really like is when Diana tells Akko that she wanted to give Akko the card because she believes it can help her. In the word, it states that there may come a time when you fail and lose sight of that dream. This is more than anything that time. Akko learned that her hero stole away her dreams, that the reason she's bad at magic is because of her hero, that she was essentially doomed before ever touching the starting line, because of actions way outside of her control. This crushes Akko. She can't handle the realization, and she isolates herself. She shuts down. If Chariot stole her magic, what is she even working towards? Akko asking if believing herself is even enough is indicative of this. Any other time, Akko would have failed and jumped back up, claiming that she just has to believe harder, but what happens when that belief is proven wrong? When the fuel that's been keeping the fire alive suddenly disappears? When everything you thought you knew is proven to be a lie? Akko gave up. She stopped fanning the flame. Believing in herself can't be enough when there's nothing to believe in. Diana tells Akko that one thing that she's been needing to hear for a while. That Akko is special. That believing in herself is her magic. That Akko's magic is wholly unique. Now on to the next word. Word 2. Phaidoari Afairynghor. In the anime, this word is awakened in episode 11, Blue Moon. In this episode, Akko feels like she's not making any progress towards her dream. Because of this, Akko starts getting scared that she'll never be like Chariot, and Akko decides to go visit the ghost of the Blue Moon, who is said to be able to tell anyone's past, present, and future, to see if it's even worth continuing to pursue her dream. When she finally gets to the ghost, it shows Akko the future where she becomes Chariot, but for Akko to guarantee that future, she would have to give up her past. After learning this, Akko says this.
Knowing you may never be Chariot. So what? If I work hard enough, I can still be a great witch. I learned this from someone important. You might not get the things that you dream of, but you can always get the things that you work for!
I like this scene a lot. It shows off a lot about Akko. She was offered her dream on a silver platter, but she refused to take it. She'd rather struggle and work for it than just take the easy road. In this scene, I think Akko fully understands that it's her experiences that allow her to make her dream come true, not someone else's. This is shown best in the last line. After being asked if she's okay with living knowing she may never be like Chariot, Akko gives an unusual retort by her standards. Instead of reaffirming that she'll absolutely be like Chariot, she instead tells the ghost that it doesn't matter if she'll be like Chariot, because all of her hard work will still make her a great witch. Akko knows that the road towards becoming Chariot is hard, but in the end she'll still gain something from it. Akko passes out and is rescued by Ursula, and the ghost says that Akko's stubborn, but determined. If it's not already obvious, this word's the embodiment of Akko's second greatest trait, her determination, just in a different form. With the word, I like to highlight how hard of a worker Akko really is. In episode 3, Don't Stop Me Now, Akko's starting her flying lessons, but is unable to, for obvious reasons we already know. While Akko keeps getting frustrated by her lack of flying abilities, she also tries everything possible to be able to fly. Ursula gives Akko a baby's first broom ride book, and instead of being insulted by this, like most characters would be, Akko gleefully takes the book and says that she'll study it all night, and the next day, she starts using some of the methods from the book, but to no results. Akko ends up learning about the broom relay race coming up, and is determined to win it because Chariot won it. Akko ends up signing up Lotte and Susie without their permission, and as such, they're forced to join. Susie was going to throw the match, but upon knowing what the prize is going to be, she starts actually trying to help Akko fly using her own unique methods, to say the least. To, once again, no results. Akko tries to convince Peter Griffin's magical brother to let her use Shooting Star, the broom that can fly on its own. He refuses because of how rebellious it is, so Of course, Amanda, overhearing this, steals it. On the day of the race, Susie ends up cheating because of course she does, so that Akko and crew can win. During the race, Shooting Star gets loose and Akko ends up accidentally getting onto it. After flying around the world with it, eventually Akko gets kicked off. But she refuses to be bested by a broom, so she fires herself out of a cannon. You can't just... Where'd you get the... Either way, to get on top of it, she fires herself out of a cannon and ties the chain that's on it around her so she can't get off. Psychopath. She tells the broom that a few scratches won't scare her off and gets second place, though you can see how hard she was working to get first place, even at severe disadvantage. Speaking of working really hard, episode 7, Orange Submariner, is a really good example of this as well. In the beginning of the episode, Akko is actually paying attention in class, which is not normal for her to do. Lotte calls her out on this, and as they're having this conversation, Susie shows up and tells them that Constance is having a movie night on her secretly made projector. Akko tells her not to tempt her because she has to study. Susie is surprised, and Akko retorts that she can't be like Shearylla if she doesn't do her absolute best. The next day, during Professor Finland's class, they're learning how to move objects with magic. Akko tries her best to do so, but ends up throwing food at her. Professor Finland yells at Ursula that her counseling isn't working, so Ursula ends up tutoring Akko so she does get expelled. Akko works tirelessly to try and master the object moving spell all night, but to no results. She ends up having to take her avian language test completely tired. She gets a C on the test and is made fun of by Diana's underlings. They tell her that she isn't good at anything, which pisses her off. I mean, like, fair, I would be too, but whatever. Akko then takes a test on restoration magic, fixing a bent spoon, and gets a C-, which I think is unfair, because she actually did magic correctly for once, but whatever, stupid magic rules be stupid. Next, Akko takes her flying test, and that goes about as well as you'd expect, though she does get points for effort, so that's good at least. Amanda asks everyone if they want to go to a club that night, and Akko says that she has to study. Slightly unrelated tangent, but I would love to see a slice life series with this friend group just doing things. Like, they say stuff like, want to sneak out and go to a club, or Constance secretly made a projector. Like, you can't just say this and tell me not that I don't want to see this. Like, what? Sorry, I'm a slice of life man at heart. I want it so badly. Anyways, back to Akko defying all odds and actually studying. Akko starts studying for her alchemy and cooking classes, but passes out in the middle of it. So, during the cooking test, Akko accidentally poisons Professor Badcock, and during the alchemy test, she blows up the classroom. Whatever. We'll talk about the rest of this episode later. But, as you can see, when push comes to shove, the little terrorist will work harder than anyone else to succeed. Even though Akko is willing to work really hard to get her dreams accomplished, she's still an ADHD-filled kid, so sometimes she gets really frustrated when she isn't making any progress towards her goals. So, while she can work as hard as she wants, sometimes she isn't able to even see the finish line, which makes her nervous and full of doubt. Am I projecting? Probably. Whatever. These insecure thoughts come up the best in two places. The first is in the scene I showed you earlier, when she awakened the word. The second episode is in episode 6, The Fountain. This is the episode where we first see Andrew. In this episode, Akko's having trouble mastering Metamorphosis spell, so she's forced to stay in her room as a party's being held. Akko keeps messing up the spell, accidentally giving herself bunny ears. Akko lays on her bed and gives up, hoping that someone could just tell her if she has a magic talent. Then she gets an idea. She remembered that the Fountain of Polaris is said to give the magic of the great stars to a witch with hidden potential. So, Akko goes to look for the fountain, hoping that it's just that her potential hasn't been realized yet. On her way to the fountain, she meets/gives Andrew donkey ears and a tail. You know, average first impression with a cute guy. She tells him that they need to go to the fountain so she can unlock her potential, which will allow her to fix the donkey ears on Andrew. After some mishaps that we'll discuss later, they make it to the fountain. Akko sees a vision of Chariot, then the fountain vanishes. Professor Ursula comes down and tells her that if someone isn't worthy of receiving magic comes to the fountain, it'll disappear immediately. Then tells her that she came too early, then this exchange happens.
I know. Well, I was hoping if I found the Fountain of Polaris, maybe it would acknowledge my hidden potential as a witch. Then I realized that's not something someone can acknowledge you for. It's something that should be earned with hard work.
That's right. But I think that deep down, you knew that from the beginning.
I really want to be just like Chariot. One day I'll be like her.
Once again, Akko is reaffirming that she knows she has to work hard to become like Chariot. It's just that it's hard sometimes. This scene, just like the one with the ghost, shows the duality in Akko. The fact that she wants to know for certain that she'll be Chariot, that her hard work won't be for nothing. But she also knows that no one can tell her that she'll be Chariot. She has to show herself through her hard work. Like Akko said, I realize that's not something someone can acknowledge you for. It's something that should be earned with hard work. This word has a lot of parallels with the first one, so I didn't have as much to say on it. I think the main difference between the two words / aspects of Akko is that with the first, it's that determination to never give up, even when the world is caving in on itself. While the second word is more showing you that even if you are determined to obtain your dream, you still have to put in the effort to make it real, even if the goal is still light years away. Now, onto the third word, and my personal favorite to say. Word 3. Aryha. This, as the word suggests, is all about being yourself, and nothing screams this message more than the 2 episodes that are dedicated to Sam.
Hey, future Denoyle here? Yeah, I'm stupid. For whatever reason, I thought Samhain is pronounced Samhain. I'm pretty sure they also pronounce it in show as Samhain.
Check out the list of witches attending the Samhain Festival right here! Witches attending the Samhain Festival, the Samhain!
So, yeah, every time in this section when I say any name of the festival, it's Samhain and I'm just stupid. I am sorry about that. So, yeah.
Nothing screams this message more than the 2 episodes that are dedicated to the Magic Festival, since these are the episodes where Akko unlocks this word. These episodes start with Akko wanting to be picked for the Moonlit Witch at the school's Magic Festival, because Chariot was chosen for it in the previous year. Also, fun fact, this is an actual festival celebrated by the Gaelic people to mark the end of a harvest season. I just thought that was a really cool detail. Anyways, Akko says that Chariot got the Moonlit Witch title by using special metamorphosis magic, which is why she's practicing so hard to master it. During the festival, the students are split into different teams and are given different roles they have to play in the festival. Akko and crew get to be sacrificed to the Vaal Rose, which completely bums Akko out, but excites Susie a little bit too much, honestly. Either way, when they get back to Akko's room, she starts complaining about having to be sacrificed, and says that there's no way she can become the Moonlit Witch like that. Lotte and Amanda agree that it'll probably be Diana who gets picked because she comes from a long line of great witches. Akko gets upset and storms out of the room. She ends up accidentally listening in on Diana's conversation with some girls over what mirror to pick for the festival. Then when they leave, she hides in the mirror room for reasons. While in there, Akko looks into one of the mirrors, and her reflection tells her, "You're jealous, aren't you? I bet you wish you were born a magic prodigy, don't you? Maybe just like her." And turns Akko into Diana. Akko, now transformed into Diana, is getting put into weird situations because everyone keeps asking her to do things, you know, since she looks like Diana. She, for the most part, tries her best to get out of these situations so as not to mess up Diana's reputation, or out herself as posing as Diana since it doesn't look good for her, with the one exception of pranking Diana's personal sims. This continues until she is forced to use advanced magic to help some students, and obviously fails until the real Diana shows up. Diana scolds Akko for forgetting about her duties and says this.
You always sulk and lose interest in things when they don't go the way you want them to. And you're too busy playing pretend to learn about the history or tradition of real magic. What gives you the right to study here? I have what it takes! I'm serious about becoming like Chariot! Oh, yeah? Then prove it. Fine, I will! I'll show you just how strong my passion for magic is! Akko Kagari will be chosen as the Moonlit Witch of the Samhain Festival!
I think this scene does a good job not only showing off the difference between Akko and Diana, but more importantly, the less favorable side of Akko's personality. That being her stubbornness and jealousy. The one that's important to this section is jealousy. It lies at the center of Aryha. Akko is too busy comparing herself to Diana and Chariot and what they did that she completely ignores her own duties. We'll get back to that in a second. After storming off, this scene happens.
Diana's amazing. Long ago, the world was filled with powerful magic. However, these days, magic is at a decline. By finding the Grand Triskelion, I plan to aid in magic's revival. Compared to her, I'm so... Is it true you told everyone you'd be chosen as the Moonlit Witch? Professor Ursula. Guess I got caught in the moment. It's not like I have a chance. And why's that? I hate to admit it, but they're all right about her. Diana's so talented. She's more mature than I could ever hope to be. How am I supposed to compete with that? Compared to her? I'm just some dumb little kid. Well, you do have a tendency of jumping into things without thinking, but that's just something you have to work on to better yourself. But you know, I'd imagine that Shiny Chariot also made many mistakes at first, and probably got down on herself about it too. What would Chariot do in this situation? The Big Dipper's beautiful tonight. Just ahead of it lies the North Star, Polaris. Professor Ursula? If Chariot were here, I think she might say, don't try to compare yourself to anyone else because everyone has something special only they can do. So please take good care of this rod. Okay.
If the last scene did a good job of showing off Akko's jealousy towards Diana, then this scene does a great job. In this scene, Akko starts comparing herself with Diana and suffering as a result. To Akko, Diana is everything she wants to be, so it's infuriating and disheartening to see Diana be the symbol of perfection. Obviously, as most of you know, that's not exactly the case, but once again, we'll get to that later. After this pep talk by Ursula, Akko's rod points her towards the Fountain of Polaris. In there, she sees a vision of Chariot practicing a Arae rerun, just having fun. Akko ends up learning that Chariot didn't practice to become the Moonlit Witch. She just messed around and did her magic her way. And that's what allowed her to gain the title. This gives Akko an idea on what to do for the festival that is wholly her own. The next day, Akko and crew are going over their plan for the festival. Akko tells them that when Chariot was chosen to be Moonlit Witch, she didn't care about fame or attention, she just cared about entertaining people. She then tells them that for the festival, instead of being sacrifices, they'll cure the Vaharo's sadness through laughter. Akko says that it's depressing watching Vaharos go around eating people and that instead the festival should be fun and entertaining. And for once, we see Akko grow away from doing stuff to be like Chariot and instead doing stuff to make people happy. Susie and Lotte disagree with Akko and tell her that this is the way the festival's been done for years and that they shouldn't mess with it. Akko goes to console with Ursula and tells her that she just wants to make the festival fun for everyone, and Ursula agrees to do some research just as long as Akko keeps practicing transformation magic. Akko gets scolded by Diana's totally platonic friends for pranking them, and Akko apologizes. They forgive her only because they're going to be laughed at during the festival. They then proceed to call Susie a creep and Lotte a paperweight. Akko spends the next 3 weeks and 3 days practicing transformation magic. Susie and Lotte find Akko's plan for the festival and agree to help her. The day of the festival approaches and Akko's practicing her magic up to the very last second. The festival itself is very boring and Diana calls Akko pathetic because she thinks Akko ran away from the festival. Lotte stands up to Diana and tells her that Akko will be there. Diana performs the summoning spell and it is of course amazing. As Akko arrives just in time, they go up to cure the Vaharo's sadness. During the festival, Ursula is searching for what the Vaharo's curse is. She learns that the Vaharo swallowed the seed of grief so as to never forget her friends, and that's why she's so upset. Akko and crew are sent flying by Vaharo's sneeze. As this happens, Ursula shows up and tells Akko the reason for Vaharo's curse and tells her to find the seed of grief using Chariot's magic to get rid of it. Akko and crew get swallowed by it and find the seed. Akko uses a Arae on it and pulls it out of her. Akko is then unfairly robbed of the Moonlit Witch title because she broke the rules. Those 2 episodes are obviously the embodiment of a Arae. Akko's semi-arc through the episodes is to trust herself and to do magic her way. From episode 12, having Akko doubt her abilities and idolizing Diana as perfect like everyone else, to episode 13, having Akko practice her ass off so that she can cure someone who's in despair. This is also one of the first times where we see Akko work towards a goal unrelated to Chariot. Akko's desire to cure Vaharos came from her stopping thinking about herself and instead about other people. She expressed many times that she just wants to make people happy. This ends up becoming Akko's true dream as the show goes on. Obviously this new dream is harsh because she wants to be like Chariot, but now she wants to achieve this dream because it's what she enjoys. Now, as stated before, Arae is all about being yourself and doing things your way. Throughout the show, Akko has a tiny tendency to compare herself to Chariot's standards, so let's see how this tendency changes over time. Let's get back to the beginning. As we know, when Akko was younger, she watched a show by Shiny Chariot. From that day, she was bewitched by magic. She became obsessed with magic and Chariot. This allowed her to attend Lunanova. Her only reason to go to Lunanova was because Chariot went there. Eventually she ends up gaining the shiny rod through shenanigans and vows to give it back to Chariot when she finds her. From the beginning, Akko doesn't even think of the rod as her own. After her first day of classes, Akko starts complaining about classes are boring and asks about how Chariot learned magic here. Diana approaches Akko because of this and tells her to stop thinking of Chariot as a role model. Akko of course gets defensive over that and yells at Diana that she cares about Chariot and that she has to find her and give her the shiny rod. Ursula ends up officially introducing herself to Akko in the beginning of episode 3. Akko tells Ursula that she's gonna find Chariot and return the wand, but Ursula tries to tell her that she should just keep it. But because of Akko's hyperactivity, she's already on a completely separate train of thought by that point in the conversation. This is also the first episode where Akko tries to do something because Chariot did it, that being the broom relay race. Akko wants to enter and win the race so she can have her picture on the wall just like Chariot. She even ends up registering her friends for her without their consent. Akko and crew end up cheating the entire race, but Akko does come in second, so you know what they say. Cheaters never prosper. Though Akko did try her hardest to win, you gotta give her that. The next episode where Akko does something because of Chariot is the Fountain episode. We kinda went over this episode earlier, but just as a review, Akko's upset because she can't get a spell correct, so she goes to the magic fountain to see if she'll ever be good at magic. She ends up bringing Andrew along also. After shenanigans, they make it to the fountain, and Akko gets a vision of Chariot gaining the power of the stars, then the fountain disappears. She tells Ursula that she wants to be just like Chariot. The next episode is very important, both for Akko and her relationship with Ursula, but also for the word, obviously. In episode 7, Orange Submariner, Akko is struggling with her studies. After Akko throws food in Professor Finland's face, Ursula is scolded for not teaching Akko enough. And that if she doesn't pass her next exam, she'll be expelled. Akko just barely passes most of her exams with C's. Later in the episode, Lotte is talking about magical careers and Akko decides to ask Ursula about it. Ursula gives Akko a list of the school's alumni. Ursula ends up asking Akko what she wants to be when she grows up, and Akko predictably says that she wants to be a witch, just like Chariot. She wants to go out into the world and make everyone happy. After a few more tests and one last classroom, the little bombers complain to Ursula that everyone in the academy has something they're good at except for her. Ursula assures Akko that there are plenty of things she's good at, so Akko tells her to name them, and Ursula deflects the question. Keep a pin on this though. During her astronomy test, Diana does an expert reading, and Akko gets salty about it, saying that she's just saying any vague things she can think of. Diana offers to give Akko a reading, and Akko tells her that it'll just say she'll be a great witch like Chariot. Diana says she sees her leaving the academy, and Akko gets upset. Diana's very good friends, according to history, tell her that she should just pack up now, because Diana's fortunes are never wrong, and they trip Akko. Akko, about done with everyone and everything, starts fighting the two girls and obviously gets in trouble. She's told that if she's to fail her next exam, they will be forced to expel her. Akko begs not to be expelled. Ursula's also taken aback by that. In the hallway, Akko says the most heartbreaking thing to Ursula. Please don't say you're disappointed in me. I don't want to be a bad student. This is my home, and I'm not going to leave. After learning that our final exam is for the class she thought was super easy because there was no teacher, it's instead for a really hard class because she couldn't understand the teacher. Akko starts freaking out that she'll be expelled. After light taunting from Susie, Akko decides that she refuses to give up and goes to bribe the teacher. You know, as you do when you're about to fail. After attempting to murder her teacher with mineral water and flushing her down the drain to hide the evidence, Akko decides to go rescue her while Ursula covers for her. That adventure will be talked about later, but I would like to highlight the end of the episode. Professor Finland starts yelling at Akko for not being a good witch, to which Professor Finland comes in, and that's where this interaction happens.
You're not off the hook. This sort of behavior is disgraceful.
Mysterious merman terrifies local? When did he get that picture? Is this Miss Kagari?
Lunanova has never been more humiliated. I demand the expulsion of Atsuko Kagari for actions unbefitting a witch of this school.
You can't do that! Yes, Miss Kagari may not be a model student, and yes, sometimes her power manifests wild and uncontrolled. But she tries, harder than anyone else here. She learned fish language in a day, and she's clearly doing her best to master transformation magic. We're not here to compare her with the others, we're here to compare her with herself. And since she's come through those doors, she's become an entirely new person.
However, as a witch, she has almost no value.
Her value is in not leaving anybody behind. Her value is in choosing to help another person thrive, rather than thinking only of herself. Raising our students to care about nothing but grades is just stupid! Oh, I value Atsuko.
See? I told you it'd come back. Ursula ends up summing up most of what Aryha is mainly about. while also dunking on the entire education system. Anyway, the next important episode is the Blue Moon episode. After becoming frustrated that she hasn't been improving in magic for a month, she says that she wishes she can meet Chariot so that she can ask her if she has any tips on being great at magic. Akko and her friends then start theorizing on what happened to Chariot, to which Lotte says that Akko should ask Ursula since it's possible they knew each other. So Akko goes out to find Ursula. Ursula's reminiscing about her days as Chariot when she's interrupted by Akko. Akko starts asking Ursula if Chariot was in her class. Ursula says that she was, and Akko starts asking 100 questions about Chariot, like if she stood out, if she's beautiful, why she disappeared. Akko confesses that she gets scared sometimes and wants to ask Chariot if there's any way she could be like her. Ursula tells Akko that she doesn't get the things she dreams of, but the things she worked for, and reassures her that she has to take good care of the shiny rod. Once again, Ursula is trying to get Akko to accept the rod as her own. Akko then has a dream of Chariot telling her to watch the sky since it's the blue moon, which causes Akko to remember that once every few years a blue moon appears that allows an ancient ghost that can predict your past, present, and future of a person to arise. So Akko of course goes looking for the ghost. Akko goes to the blue moon abyss to find the ghost, and her shiny rod causes the pathway to emerge. After fumbling through the cave, she sees what she believes to be Chariot. Akko asks Chariot what she must do to be like her, and the fake Chariot tells her that she'll never achieve her dream. Akko immediately calls her a liar, that she isn't the real Chariot because Chariot taught her to believe in herself. Akko asks who the fake Chariot is, and she disappears, only to reveal the ghost of the blue moon. Akko asks the ghost if she'll become a witch like Chariot, and she's shown a future of her as Chariot. I went over this full scene earlier, so we'll skip over this part, though I would like to mention that this is one of the first times where Akko says that she's okay not being like Chariot. She says that she'll become a great witch if she continues to work hard either way. This shows some of the first steps of her achieving her dream for herself, not just to mimic Chariot. Akko passes out and is rescued by Ursula. It's revealed that the ghost is Ursula's old professor. The next two episodes are the episodes, and we already went over that, so let's get to when Kroi's introduced. Akko ends up seeking Kroi's help in trying to locate Chariot. Kroi uses this as an excuse to experiment on her, and Ursula comes to the rescue to help Akko. This is also when Ursula reveals the true nature of the shiny rod. This reinvigorates Akko's desire to meet Chariot. The next big time Akko's obsession over being just like Chariot is in play is during the Wagandhi episode. We'll look at this episode more in depth later, but the things I'd like to mention now are that Kroi asks Akko what she'll wish for when she collects the 7 words, and Akko tells her that while she hasn't thought about it, she says that the main reason she's collecting them is to meet Chariot, and says that there's so many things that she wants to tell Chariot, the biggest one being thank you. As Akko is climbing the tree, Ursula tries to stop her, and Akko, frustrated, yells at her.
Why would you let me do this? What? You don't understand how I feel, Professor! How much I want to meet Chariot! I'm not doing this for the words! I just want to meet her! That's why I've been searching for them, just like you told me to! So I don't get it! Why are you trying to stop me?
This plea from Akko is the worst side of a lot of her traits, including her obsession with Chariot. She's willing to lose her magical ability forever if it means meeting Chariot, but that's not exactly true, is it? I think the main reason she's being stubborn about this is that she's frustrated. Ever since she's gone to Luna Nova, she was bullied. She couldn't do magic like Chariot, couldn't fly. Now she has a way to change all of that. She has a way to meet Chariot and ask her how she succeeded. How Akko can become her. In Akko's mind, this is the closest she's going to ever be to being like Chariot. Like I said, we'll go more in depth on this episode in a bit, but for now, let's continue on Akko's obsession. The next episode has 2 significant moments I want to acknowledge. The first being early on in the episode when Akko and Andrew were being all cute together. They witness the no-goal protest and they have this interaction.
If only Chariot could be here at a time like this. Everyone would feel better after seeing her show. It's exciting and heart-moving. You'll laugh and forget all about silly things like being mad at people.
Seriously?
You betcha! Her show could bring peace to the whole world!
What an idealistic theory.
Hey, wait. Something's off. You're not turning your nose up at me like you usually do.
Honestly, if all that could really happen, it'd be great. It's better than the current situation.
Would you look at that? You finally accepted magic.
Perhaps. I just have a better opinion of you than before. But I have some advice. If you want to bring laughter and happiness to people, then believe in yourself. Stop living in Chariot's shadow.
Wait, really?
That's right.
And just like that, Andrew condensed everything I was saying into one sentence. Great. But this is what I've been essentially getting at. While Akko spouts out that believing yourself is your magic, she never really embraced it, not fully at least. Ever since the beginning, she compares herself to Chariot. Even though she believes in herself, she believes in Chariot more. She doesn't equate her own talents to herself, she always equates them to Chariot. When Shiny Rod shows her, her first thought is to give it back to Chariot, because she's not worthy of it. She, in a lot of ways, subconsciously believes that she can never be like Chariot because of all her flaws. So she ends up holding herself back time and time again. Well, that isn't completely true. While most of the time Akko's believes that Chariot has the power to help everyone, holds her back, there is one time where it explicitly helps her, but it also proves my point. In episode 16, when Akko is close to her breaking point, all of her inner doubts are screaming at her to give up, telling her that she should just give up and let someone else handle it because she isn't good enough. But through this barrage of self-doubt, she's reminded of the friends that she has to save and sees a vision of Chariot telling her to not give up on her dream. While I think Akko is held back a lot by her comparing herself to Chariot, the idea of Chariot itself as an inspiration only helps her not to give up when she's at her lowest. This idealized version of Chariot that Akko has in her head is some of the main reasons why Akko doesn't give up. Until, well, she ends up learning Chariot's secret. When Akko learns the truth about Chariot, it destroys her completely. Akko learning that Chariot is not only Ursula, but also the reason why she can't do magic, destroys her. This one anchor that Akko had keeping her tethered to her dream was cut. How can she follow her dream when her idol took them away? Akko can't handle this fact and runs away crying, calling her a liar. She's eventually found by Diana and they have a heart-to-heart, which I already showed you earlier. It's revealed to Akko that Diana also isn't perfect and her magic is taken from her too. I think this is important for Akko because the two people she kept comparing herself against turn out to have their own flaws. This allows Akko to finally believe in herself because if Chariot and Diana can be so cool despite their flaws, what's stopping her? All of this character growth comes ahead in episode 24, A Road to Arcturus, when Akko saves Ursula from Koi's monster.
All right! Akko really did it! Akko. Chariot. It's really you. Here you go. But this rod isn't mine. I made up my mind to give this to you once I found you. Please accept it. I saw one of your shows when I was a kid. It was so beautiful and cool. It felt just like a dream. Seeing it really moved me. It was then that I decided to become a witch. I thought that if I became one, I'd be able to see Chariot again. Doing so was my biggest dream. And now that I've finally met you, my dream, it came true. Akko. But you know, this is all thanks to everyone. I'm so glad that I'm friends with them. All of them. I caused lots of trouble, but they always helped me. That's why I'm here. Without them around, I never would have made it this far. I'm so grateful to them, and, well, to you too. You know, it's still strange to think that you're actually Chariot. Because to me, you've always been my teacher. That's why I was hoping you could keep being my professor instead.
Akko, what I did to your magic was...
Professor! I get it now. I know I'll never actually be Chariot. I wanted to be like her so I could gracefully soar the sky and use beautiful transformation magic. But Chariot is Chariot, and I'm just me. All I can do is be myself, even if being myself means that I can't fly and I always mess everything up.
Akko.
Professor, just wait. I will work hard, and then I'll be a witch who makes everyone smile. Because magic will always be the most wonderful thing in the whole world to me. I want to learn more. So keep teaching me magic, please?
You still want me as your teacher?
You're the best one there is. Thank you, Professor. I love you.
Akko, you helped me make my dream come true. The rod. Hey, Akko.
Huh?
Take what you're feeling now and put it into words. The final word is sure to activate.
Everyone, together. If we all chase our dreams, we can change the world. Phasansheer, Shearylla!
This quote does a really good job encompassing most of Akko's character traits. But the biggest thing it does is show the conclusion of Akko's character arc. When she saves Chariot, she isn't upbeat and loud like normal, she's serious. She walks up to her, calmly sits down, and has a conversation with her. The Akko from the beginning of this anime would never have done that. In this scene, Akko has finally fully embraced Aryha. She stopped comparing herself to Chariot. She tells her that to her face. She's just Akko, so she'll do only what she can do to make people smile in her own way. She doesn't give up after learning the truth, mainly because of Diana, and she doesn't ask Chariot to teach her magic. She asks her professor to. I love this scene a lot. Like I said, it encompasses a lot of what this anime is about. Everything from relying on your friends to help when you might not be strong enough to believing in yourself and doing what only you can do. Now that feels like a proper way to end this video, doesn't it? But just in case you forgot, we still have 4 more words to get through, so let's go to... Word 4. Mayenab Dysheebudo. This word is the one that Akko struggles with the most, next to her crippling insecurity of never being like Chariot. It's an understatement to call Akko impatient. She's incapable of waiting even if her life literally depended on it. And with this impatience comes a small tendency to also be reckless. There were many times where she is recklessly impatient, like in the dragon episode when she refuses to wait and let the adults deal with the issue, or I guess in the episode when this word's unlocked? Yes, I should start with that. Anyways, in episode 16, Pajol's Ordeal, Akko goes with Lotte and Susie to visit Lotte's parents. While there, Lotte's parents were infected with the Greenman's disease, and it was up to the girls to get the cure. A lot of the ingredients for the cure require precise timing and patience to get, which Akko isn't a big fan of, but also to be fair, most of the conditions for the ingredients, and honestly the disease itself, is kinda bullshit, but anyways, despite Akko's impatience, they managed to get most of the ingredients except for 2. And by this point, Susie and Lotte also succumb to the disease as well, leaving Akko to have to get them on her own. For the second to last one, Akko chases down a reindeer and forces it to poop for her. Then she has to get a medicine capsule made by a Yeti. She enters the house and begs the Yeti to help. He tries his best, but keeps messing it up because he's in a horrible funk. Eventually, Akko starts getting frustrated and yells at him, calling him bad at his job, which causes the Yeti to run away crying. After realizing what she did, Akko goes to find him, only to learn that people online are giving him bad reviews for his product. Because of this, he's super insecure about his craft and hasn't been able to make a correct capsule since. After learning this, Akko throws his phone. Wait a minute. No, Akko, that's his livelihood. How's he gonna make money now? Akko, you can't... After Akko destroyed the Yeti's only source of income, she tells him that it doesn't matter what the haters think, and that she's so sorry for rushing him. This cheers him on, and he makes a perfect capsule, but Akko never replaced the phone, so who really won in this situation? Akko leaves the Yeti's house, only to see that the reindeer is gone, so she starts walking back in the blistering cold. Akko is accosted by her own inner self-doubts, to the point of giving up, but then she remembers the friends she has to save and refuses to give up. That's when she's rescued by Mr. Nicholas, and gives her a ride back. When she gets back, she starts mixing all the ingredients together with her magic wand. I mean, I guess you need something, but really, the special rod that belonged to your idol that you're trying to keep safe? Whatever, as she's mixing the potion, she unlocks the word.
I have to stick it out! I will persevere!
Mayenab Dysheebudo. There is something absent for its revival.
So what's missing from it then?
The real question is what's missing from you.
I see now. I know what it is. Mayenab Dysheebudo. In times like these, patience is a virtue. Mayenab Dysheebudo!
After saving everyone, they all go back to Lyonne and Akko immediately forgot her lesson. Now, I'm in love with you guys. Well, this is technically the episode the word's unlocked, and normally those are the episodes in which Akko obviously learns the lesson of that word, and for the most part changes accordingly. Even with Aryha, her dream and her reliance on Chariot slowly changed, and I normally hold these episodes up as like, hey, look at this, it's the core of Akko's entire relationship with this word, and such a core part of her personality that can be seen in it. And while that is technically true for Mayenab Dysheebudo, we constantly see Akko's impatience, and it's not like there were any real repercussions for Akko's impatience, other than upsetting a Yeti. I'm bringing all this up because there's a better episode, where Akko is not only forced to relearn this lesson, there were actual repercussions for her impatience. This episode, of course, is episode 21, Wagandia. I'd mentioned that we'd go more in depth in this episode later, and now's the time. Now's later. Well, this is the Lyonne episode. I think that it also works really well for her impatience. Honestly, this episode is just really good in general. Like, this episode, the embodiment of most of Akko's more negative, self-destructive character traits, from her reckless impatience to her chariot obsession. If you want me to look more in depth in this episode, let me know down below, because I'm just going to be touching on the Akko parts. This episode picks up right after the events of Akko bringing Diana back. Ursula praises Akko for bringing back Diana and reviving the fifth word. Akko then asks about the next word, and Ursula tells her that it's the most important word of them all. Akko goes looking around the library to figure out the word, but she can't find it. Then she is approached by Diana's, goons. Yeah, that's the term we'll go with this time. They're confused why she's in the library, then thank her for bringing Diana back. During this exchange, Akko tells them that they don't have to thank her, that she was just doing what she wanted to, but they do anyways. The two girls leave, and Akko is approached by Croy, who's the second person today to find it surprising that Akko's in the library. She asks Akko if she's continuing research on the next word, and Akko tells her that she can't find anything and asks her if she knows about it. Croy tells Akko that Chariot found the word at the top of the Wagandia tree. This causes Akko to ask Ursula if she can climb it as well, to which she immediately tells her not to because the tree is about to open its buds, causing dangerous pollen to spread. Ursula tells Akko that she didn't want to tell her about it because Akko would immediately want to climb it, which, yeah, that's exactly what happened. Akko tells Ursula that Croy told her about it, and then asks how long the pollen will be around, to which Ursula responds somewhere between a few weeks to a few months, and tells her to wait. Akko then insists on going up now before the pollen spreads. Ursula tells Akko no, and when she keeps persisting, Ursula yells at her to wait. Akko then gets pouty and starts venting to her friends. Venting, among us. She says that Ursula is too worried that it could be years until she can climb the Wagandia knowing her luck. She then says that it's better to regret something you have done than something you haven't. Diana interrupts her by saying that she's confusing courageousness with recklessness. Diana scolds Akko, telling her that if she touches the pollen, it can get rid of her magic. She says that even if she can't fly right now, she believes that if Akko keeps working hard at it, she'll eventually. After everyone tells Akko that's probably a bad idea to climb the tree, Akko consoles Croy, the one person who's telling her the opposite thing, and Croy, of course, eggs Akko on to climb the tree, saying that there's still time to climb it and that Ursula's a little disorganized and might just be confused on the timing. She offers to check it out with Akko. Once they get to the tree, Croy tells Akko that it's strange that Ursula would stop Akko from trying to climb the tree without checking first, since it's not blooming. She then starts to plant seeds of doubt in Akko's head about how trustable Ursula really is, saying that she doesn't even remember anyone named Ursula in her class, and that she might be hiding something important from Akko. Keep a tab on this. Akko dismisses what Croy is saying, but the doubt is still there. Croy tells Akko that to find the word, she must climb to the tree by herself, without any tools. then asks if Akko is still down to climb it, and Akko says that whatever it takes, she will climb it. After Akko leaves, Croy starts attacking Ursula to prevent her from getting to Akko. Akko is climbing the tree and she's attacked by Croy's monsters and is saved by Ursula. Ursula tells Akko to grab her hand and this exchange happens.
Let's go, Akko! Please, take my hand! No! I already came all this way! You were wrong, Professor! Professor Croy told me the power won't start for a while! Wait, that's not true! It starts blooming at the top! You have to believe me! So you were saying Professor Croy lied to me? You don't know Croy like I do. Please come with me. But I've seen them. I know the pollen won't spread yet. They're still only buds. Akko, please listen. Why won't you let me do this? What? You don't understand how I feel, Professor. How much I want to meet Chariot. I'm not doing this for the words. I just want to meet her. That's why I've been searching for them, just like you told me to. So I don't get it. Why are you trying to stop me?
This plea from Akko is the worst side of all of her traits manifested into an insecure girl who believes she's so close to her goal, but life keeps moving the goalpost. Croy tells Akko that she'll explain everything to Ursula and tells her to go on ahead. Ursula refuses to give up on Akko and keeps fighting to get to her. Akko continues to climb the tree. As she does this, she keeps telling herself that she will succeed, that she can't stop. The buds start pollinating and she gets trapped in by them. She gets scared and falls. Ursula rescues her but ends up getting hit by all the spores. They start plummeting to the ground as Ursula begs for Akko's future not to be taken away. Akko wakes up and starts apologizing to Ursula for being selfish, and Ursula says that she should be the one apologizing for unfairly pushing her wish onto Akko, to which Akko not only vehemently denies it, she says this.
That's not true! You never pushed anything! I chose to collect the words on my own! Even though I've been through so much and had so many experiences, I still haven't really grown at all. I didn't mean to say such mean things to you. You've always been there to help me, Professor. You've always been by my side. So that's why. What I really want to say is... thank you.
Akko then unlocks Lyonne, the sixth word. Akko uses Lyonne to heal Ursula as Ursula tells her that no one's ever gone to the top of Wagandia, and that she is going to grow into a fine person. Like I said earlier, this episode has a lot of Akko's worst traits in it, the most obvious one being her reckless impatience. Ursula literally yells at Akko about being patient because Akko didn't think things through, and wasn't careful with finding Lyonne. It not only almost costed her her dream, but it also crippled Ursula from ever using magic again. There's an irony there, but I don't feel like analyzing it, I'm tired. All because Akko couldn't wait just a little bit, and because she had to find the word in the exact same way Chariot did. She thought it was a great idea to ignore all of the signs that maybe it was a bad idea and instead listen to the one person telling her to do it. Diana hits the nail on the head when she tells Akko that she's confusing courageousness with recklessness. Obviously, Akko has many instances of being hella impatient. I'm pretty sure it's her worst trait. If things aren't going the way she wants to, or fast enough, she gets upset and complains, and maybe causes some problems with magic, but that's okay because Akko isn't a perfect character. She's impulsive, reckless, stubborn, and naive, but she's also compassionate, determined, hardworking, and selfless. Even when she's being reckless, she's able to acknowledge that what she did wasn't right and apologize. Now let's move on to the fifth word before things get too sappy. Alrighty? Alrighty.
Word 5. Sybilladura, Lelladybura. Now, this is where things get real funky. Normally, I give you the context from the words unlocked, and I give you examples for how this all relates to Akko, but this word's weird to say the least. The context is very Akko and Diana heavy, and I want to save that for later, so no context. Sue me. Out of all the words, this one is the hardest to relate back to Akko because it works a lot more on a thematic level, since most of the show is the struggle between tradition and innovation. We see this with Fafnir and Lotte's parents. Both of them evolved their businesses and way of life to adjust to new times. We hear constantly that Lune Nova is losing relevance and that witches will soon be obsolete. And Croy's entire motivation is to find a way to put witches back on top through modern methods. But that's a video for another day.
I think the best embodiment of this word's meaning in relation to Akko is in her relationship with Andrew. I've always had a little soft spot for characters who are portrayed as like snobbish rich kids, but as time would go on, they become more human, you know? See like Amity from the Owl House and Pacifica from Gravity Falls, or, well, Andrew and Diana from this show. It's an archetype I like a lot, so I was pleasantly surprised when I got 2 of them. Now, you're probably wondering how all of this relates back to Sybilladura the Lelladybura, and for that, we have to get a little funky. Let's think of Akko as like the traditional power, and Andrew as the modern power. Also, unlike most of the words that are brought up in the same episode that they're unlocked, this one's brought up in 2 episodes that aren't even back to back with each other. The 2 episodes are an Andrew heavy episode and a Diana heavy episode, so I think it's a fair assessment to say that Andrew is as much related to this word as Diana. So since we'll be dealing with her later, let's talk about the cute couple. When they first meet, they're at odds with each other. Andrew and his father are visiting the witches for a banquet. His father reveals that the only reason they're there is because he has to keep good political relationships, and that he actually doesn't care for the witches, and believes their practices to be outdated. In this episode, Andrew's being given a Toralune Nova by Diana when he spots Akko sneaking around and gets curious. He pulls on her ears thinking they're fake, once again, typical first impression, am I right? And she blows up at him. She tells him that the ears are there because of magic, and he dismisses it. They both say their goodbyes, and Akko messes up her name, which I love every time, it's so cute. Then she realizes that the guy she's currently speaking to is the cute boy who's supposed to be at the banquet. He asks if she's a student, and says that she is the most unique witch he's met so far, which, also very fair. She gets excited at the prospect of that he might love magic, then gets really upset when Andrew tells her that not only does he not care for magic, but that it's outdated and will disappear soon. Akko yells at him to not call it useless and that she'll make sure it never disappears. Andrew tells her to give an example of how useful magic can be, to which Akko agrees and, as per usual, botches the entire spell, giving Andrew donkey ears. Akko tells him that she can fix it once she finds the fountain of Polaris. As they go looking for the fountain, they come across what Akko believes to be the entrance to the north building, but can't really tell because the sign's in Latin. Andrew's able to read Latin though, and figures out that this is where the fountain's located, but that they'll upset Arcturus if they enter. Akko hears nothing of what he just said and breaks down a door, waking Arcturus. Andrew saves her and they start running from the polar bear. Andrew ends up jumping off the bear and they end up getting chased down a collapsing bridge and fall, but Ursula saves them. They find the fountain, she sees a vision of chariot. We've gone over this part before. Ursula proceeds to remove Akko's spell and asks Andrew not to snitch, and Andrew agrees because he's a homie, you know? And he goes home, now with a more rebellious bone in his body. Andrew leaves with a new outlook on witches. Maybe not a good one, but it's not a bad one, so net positive? Yeah. The next time we see Andrew is in episode 10, Be Affection. In this episode, Akko crashes Andrew's party that's being held to commemorate his excellent academic achievement. At the party, Andrew's being praised for his performance in school, but he believes it to be a waste of his time. He walks away from them and talks with Diana. As he's doing so, he spots Akko in the crowd. Andrew presses her on her presence, saying he knows that he didn't invite her, and Akko shoots back that she wasn't. She tells him she can't kick her out because she's a guest, just like everyone else, and Andrew shoots back that her logic's faulty and politely asks her to leave. Akko gets upset at this honestly pretty respectful request to leave, and Andrew retorts with, "Witches who continue to glamorize the magic era don't have a place here." While Akko is still trying to make a case on why she shouldn't be kicked out, Susie lets out a Cupid bee and it stings Andrew, causing him to fall in love with Akko temporarily. He confesses his love to Akko, which freaks her out. Akko, realizing what happened, yells at Susie while the bee continues to spread havoc around the party. After some light queer baiting, we find Andrew outside while looking for Akko, when his father goes to speak with him. His father reprimands him for letting witches in the house, saying the witches are useless in the modern day. This is when we start to see Akko's effect on Andrew. He asks his father if he believes they should just distance themselves from witches, and his father says that that's just how politics are. He tells Andrew that he has a tendency to be interested in useless things like learning piano, and Andrew says that he hasn't played in 10 years like instructed, and his father's proud, saying that he'll be a respected leader in the future, so he has no time for useless distractions, and he has to get rid of the witches. By this point, it seems like the Cupid bee's effect on Andrew is worn off somehow, because he's able to interact with Akko normally. The next scene I showed you earlier in the video, but I'll show it again because I think it's important, and I also just really like it, so sue me, okay? I'll fight.
Well, what do are you waiting for? Kicking us out isn't any harder than quitting the piano. Who knew you were just a coward who listens to whatever his dad tells him to do?
I highly respect my father, both as the head of the Hanbridge estate, as well as an esteemed politician. It's my duty to follow in his footsteps.
Your duty? What about following your dreams? You do have your own dream, don't you?
You would never understand. There are some people who are fated to uphold their proud lineage.
Okay, so maybe I'm not noble or rich. But I do have a dream. I'm gonna be a great witch! Just like Shining Chariot! I'm still just a witch in training, but following my dream has been so much fun! Anytime I think of Chariot's warm smile, it makes the whole world shine bright. I'm sure someone like you wouldn't understand at all. Are you making fun of me? I'm serious!
You know, you're pretty cute.
Well, you don't actually think that. You got stung by an enchanted bee earlier.
Did I?
Look, there it is! You should help. If we smash the bee, then you'll go back to normal.
Akko runs in to chase the bee with very little luck. Andrew's father orders her to leave, but Andrew decides to be a little rebellious and defies his father. He tells the guest that Akko's just there to kill a dangerous bee. As she's killing the bee, he decides to play Flight of the Bumblebee on piano, just to throw salt in the wound. After destroying the bumblebee, Akko compliments Andrew and he dismisses her, saying that of course he's perfect. Later that night, Frank. You remember Frank, right? The blonde boy who follows Andrew around? Yeah, him, Frank. We love Frank. He tells Andrew that he did a good job disobeying his father and asks if he's intrigued with Akko. In this episode, you not only see Akko and Andrew's relationship getting closer, you can also see as Andrew comes closer and closer to accepting magic, and disobeying his father, of course. The next time we see Andrew isn't until Akko sneaks into the prestigious all-boys school that he attends. As Akko and Amanda are sneaking around Appleton, Amanda runs into Lewis Blackwell and pisses him off. Upon learning that Amanda has a rat, he has to dispose of it since rats work closely with familiars. Amanda refuses since the rat's actually Akko, and that's when Andrew walks in after hearing the commotion. He immediately recognizes the rat as Akko and tells Lewis that it's just a normal rat and that he'll just let it go outside. Andrew takes them outside and asks Akko what she's doing there, and they have this interaction.
So I'm going to ask again. Just what are you doing here?
We're looking for the 5th word. There are 7 words total, and if we find them all, then I know that I'll finally be able to meet Chariot.
Are you still putting that witch on a pedestal?
Yeah, I am. I want to be a witch who inspires others the same way she inspired me.
Even though no one's asking you to?
Well, I mean, I know no one's specifically asking.
Please, enlighten me. If you're aware that no one cares, then why do you?
I do it because I want to do it. Don't you ever just do things?
I've told you, it's because I'm a member of the Hanbridge family. I have a reputation. I'm expected to behave in a manner befitting a leader of this country. I have to uphold my family's honor.
Yeah, you say all that, but I bet none of it is actually what you want to do at all.
Life isn't about the things you want. Everything in my life has been decided.
Nothing is decided. No matter how many times I fail, this is what I'm going to do. I'll make people laugh, smile, and feel excited, just like Chariot did.
And what if you can't accomplish that?
I will! I won't give up until I do! So please tell me, do you know anything about the Holy Grail?
Even if I did know, why would I tell you? Do you actually think that I'd encourage a troublemaker like you?
Once again, we see the dichotomy between Akko's ideals and Andrew's, or, in a broader sense, the ideals of the show versus real life. Akko believes that only you can choose your destiny, that life can only be decided by the one living it. Meanwhile, Andrew believes that he has to be perfect or else he'll disappoint his family, and he has to purge all thoughts that aren't productive. Akko runs away to go find the Holy Grail. Akko ends up getting captured by the is it safe to call them the Witch KKK? Is that allowed? Am I allowed to say that? I mean, that's what they are, right? Like, that's how they're designed, with, like, the pointy hats and the hatred for, like, a certain race, like, right? I'm gonna call them that. If I'm not allowed, I'll censor it later, I guess. Sorry in advance if that's not a thing I'm allowed to do. Okay. Anyways, Akko is captured by the Witch KKK, along with Amanda. Their leader, Lewis, is about to destroy the Holy Grail that Akko was looking for when Andrew barges in and reprimands him for being uncivilized. Andrew states that they should settle the trespassing in a civilized manner. That, of course, meaning a duel. After the duel, Lewis's father comes in to see what the ruckus is. After noticing the destruction, he immediately assumes that Amanda's to blame since she's a witch, of course. He tells the boys to seize her, but none of them do so since they saw her defend them. Andrew then proceeds to step forward and tell the headmaster that it wasn't Amanda's fault. He tells the girls to leave and that he'll handle it. Now, this is development. If this was Andrew from the beginning of the story, he not only probably would have been down for executing Akko, he also probably wouldn't have spoken out against the headmaster. Since meeting Akko, Andrew has not only been more rebellious, he's also started to grow a soft spot for witches. The next time we see Andrew is when Akko chases Diana down after she quits school. We'll go over a majority of these events when we talk about Diana, so right now I'd like to go over the Andrew-centric parts of this episode, obviously. After failing to convince Diana to stay at Lunova, Akko resorts to following her to her house and trying again. Since Akko can't fly, she decides to walk the whole way. As she's walking, she spots a car, so she decides to hitch a ride from a stranger. Except, the person in the car is not only not a stranger, but Andrew. He agrees to take her to Diana's place since he's coincidentally going the same way. Andrew's father says that he recognizes Akko as the witch that ruined the party, to which Andrew retorts that she didn't since everyone had a good time. Andrew's father then asks why Akko didn't just fly, and Andrew says that it doesn't matter, so stop worrying, since they're going to the same place anyways. Akko asks Andrew why he and his father are going to Diana's, and he says they were invited. And when Andrew asks the same question, Akko says that she's going to bring Diana back with her. It's a little subtle, but as Andrew and his father are being shown to their rooms, Andrew says, "See it, Akko," and I just like this interaction. While this is a small interaction, it's very indicative of how comfortable they've gotten with each other, where Andrew's no longer treating Akko like a nuisance and more as a friend, and so I figured I'd have to point it out, and it's cute and I like it, so sue me. When Diana is getting ready for her trial to become head of the family, Akko's trying to talk some sense into her, but Diana's having none of it. She says that Akko has no say in the matter, and Andrew agrees with her, but says that since Akko did come all this way, she should at least give her a shot. Diana shoots down the idea, but it's the thought that counts. After being barred from entering the trial room with Diana in some expedition, Akko and Andrew start talking. During this talk, Andrew tells Akko that she should give up on bringing Diana back, but Akko refuses, because she can't shake the idea that Diana doesn't actually want to leave the school. Andrew says that she might be right, and reminisces to Akko about how Diana used to not be a magic genius. While they're talking, they overhear Diana's cousin talking about the aunt's evil plan. After hearing this, Akko immediately rushes to go help Diana, but the maid refuses access. So instead, Akko tries to open the door herself. On her own, she couldn't open it, so Andrew helped her. After getting the door open, Akko runs off to help Diana, but tells Andrew to stay where he is. We'll talk about this later. At the end of the episode, Andrew wonders how Akko managed to leave her hat in his car. In the next episode, Andrew's asking Frank how he can get in contact with Lunova, saying he needs to talk with Akko. Frank teases Andrew if his cold heart is finally allowing him to love. Andrew dismisses it and explains that she left her hat in his car. Frank tells him that witches use a different network, then asks him why he doesn't just take the hat to her himself. Andrew replies that he's probably just going to see her again shortly when he least expects it. Andrew is in a meeting with his father and the headmaster. They suggest showing the rival country the full brunt of their tenacity, whatever the fuck that means. And Andrew retorts, asking if it's wise to ruin a gradually improving relationship of the two countries over such a trivial matter. He's scolded for giving his advice when it's not asked for. He's then told that it's still his responsibility to become a worthy successor and a politician. Andrew thinks about it alone in his room, beating himself up over not being able to talk back to his father, and thinking that if Akko was there, she'd have scolded him for his passivity. He then asks Diana to tell Akko to meet him at High Street. Akko meets with Andrew and they have a normal conversation. They interact with each other like they've been long friends. Andrew says that he has to go with his father to Parliament to deal with the no-goal debacle. He laments that all the hard work to improve the two countries' relationships had gone to waste because of that. Akko states that it's scary that people can stay mad at each other over such petty reasons, and Andrew agrees. Akko wishes that Chariot were around because it would help everyone feel a lot better. Andrew tells Akko that she should believe in herself, not in Chariot. Akko thinks for a second and tells him that he makes a good point, and I just love this scene.
You make a good point. Alright, I got this! Yeah, you heard me. I'm gonna make this happen! Here I go! Watch out!
I don't have much to add to this. I just like this interaction. It's really cute, okay? Just let me have this. And once again, it shows how far the relationship has come. Akko then spots Kroi's cubes and runs off, forgetting her hat again and leaving Andrew with the single thought of, you just have to believe in yourself. We see Andrew again in Parliament with his father, where he's speculating that the writers might be planning a coup. The headmaster suggests that maybe they can use the coup to gain military power over the country. Andrew's angered at the idea of using the people's problems for the country's own gain. After Akko saves Kroi and unlocks the Grand Triskelion, Kroi's monster goes out of control and takes over a missile. Kroi states that there was more hatred than she was expecting, which caused her machine to go out of control. The girls go to stop the missile, and Kroi spreads footage of the girls helping to hopefully get more people to believe in the girls so that the magic will grow farther. The Parliament is obviously trying to stop the missile before it hits the rival country. Andrew's father asks if they should alert the rival country about the danger, and he's told that it'll look bad on them if they just say there's a mysterious missile heading towards them. The headmaster says that even if it lands in their borders, they hold no responsibility, and Andrew interrupts them. He says that they need to tell the truth now more than ever, that people's lives are in danger. His father tells him that it only gives the country an excuse to retaliate. The Parliament spots the witches in pursuit of the missile. The Parliament's trying to take the footage of the witches down, but to no avail. They try to hit the missile with other missiles, but it evades. The headmaster wants the video taken down, but Andrew says it's too late for that. The headmaster asks who would put their faith in witches, and Andrew tells them to look. Andrew's father then interjects that the witches are only there to make a ruckus, that the witches are only exasperating the situation, and Andrew finally stands up to his dad. He says that he believes those girls are doing everything they can to help, and that they're the only people capable of stopping the missile. He says that the best way to help is to not help at all. His father asks if he's really going to put his faith in witches, and Andrew responds that he is, and the Prime Minister agrees. He says to observe the witches, and in the case that they fail, prepare to give backup. After watching Akko and Diana save the day, he gleefully exclaims that Akko's finally made everyone smile with her magic. His father apologizes to him about his treatment of the witches, and says that he's open to hearing Andrew's thoughts on their existence. Now, if only this is how it worked with real-life bigots, right? This is the last major appearance of Andrew. Now, after listening to all of this, you're probably left with one thought. How the hell does this relate to the word? Well, I'm glad you asked. As you remember, Sybilladura Lelladybura is when traditional and modern powers mingle, the gate to an unseen world will open, and throughout Akko and Andrew's relationship, we see Andrew's modern witch-hating views put to the test against Akko's more traditional witch-loving views. We also see, funnily enough, Akko's more modern, individualistic ideals put up against Andrew's more traditional, honoring the family ideals. Throughout the show, we see Andrew's opinion on not only witches, but also his opinion on himself slowly start to change. As time goes on, he starts speaking up about what he believes in. We see this culminate at the end of the story when Andrew finally stands up to his father, that they should just trust the witches instead of assuming that they're always in the wrong. Now, that's good and all. Andrew's character changed after being exposed to Akko, and slowly over time their ideals mingle and changed, but what's the deal with the unknown world then? How does this relate back to Akko's character? Well, let's talk about the unknown world first. The unknown world can be interpreted as a lot of things, and changes from person to person, but for our purposes, it's the future relationship between witches and people. It's no secret that in the show, witch culture's dying out, and some people believe that there's no use for them with technology rising. This sentiment's continually spouted off by Andrew's dad. As this discrepancy between witches and people continued to grow, it was only a matter of time before witches disappeared completely, especially with some of their funding coming from the government. This all changed though with Akko and Andrew. Akko slowly started changing Andrew's mind about witches, and about his father. And with Andrew eventually having a say in Parliament, this would eventually allow for Andrew to make changes for witches. This is all speculation though, but in the actual show, the relationship between the two allowed for not only Akko and Diana to save the day uninterrupted, which caused people's thoughts on witches to improve, it also opened Andrew's father's eyes to the possibility of witches being useful, essentially opening a gate to an outcome that no one would have expected, where witch culture goes on a rise. Now, that's all well and good, but how does this relate back to Akko? This is about her. Alright, I'm getting there, okay? Now, as you can see, Akko is really good at getting people to believe in her and her abilities. Akko doesn't even realize she's getting people to believe in her, she's just being herself, which people really admire. She, however, doesn't always believe in herself or her abilities. Don't get me wrong, she is extremely arrogant about her abilities at times, but as I've shown you, this is normally her way of masking her insecurities of not being able to live up to Chariot, and since she's always surrounded by people who are magic users, it's easy for her to look at them and see how bad she is in comparison. But that's where Andrew comes in. He isn't from a witch family. In fact, his father hates magic. He isn't constantly exposed to magic. In fact, his only reference for good and bad magic outside of, well, probably Chariot, is a younger Diana who was not only bad at magic, she acted a lot like Akko. Since his view on magic was very limited, he didn't judge Akko on her magical ability. He judged her on her character. So as they saw more and more of each other, he became more and more fascinated with her ability to stand up for what she believed in, and her way of not caring who it was that she was talking to, be it a high-ranking member of Parliament or some rando. That being said, he also noticed her constantly comparing herself to Chariot. He thought this was foolish. On a couple occasions, he chastised her for putting Chariot up on a pedestal, but that was when he didn't like witches. But as he grew closer to Akko, he said to her that she needed to stop living in Chariot's shadow, that she needs to believe in herself. And I think this, more than anything, is how Andrew affects Akko. He judged her for who she is, and believed she could make the world smile with magic, and he tried to get her to understand this, and I believe this more modern belief of Akko's abilities, combined with Diana's more traditional belief in Akko, is how she was finally able to overcome her insecurities and do what she can do, creating a gate to an unseen world where everyone really can be united as one with magic. Could we have brought this up in Arae or Aryha? Maybe, but I believe this works here better. Now, on to Word 6, Lyonne. We actually went over the context for Lyonne earlier, but as a reminder, after Akko actually makes it so Ursula can never use magic again, she apologizes to her and says that what she really wanted to say to Ursula was thank you, which unlocks the word. Are we all on the same page? Cool. With Lyonne, I would like to talk about Akko's greatest trait, her empathy. Akko's empathy is probably the one trait that remains consistently apparent throughout the entire show. Akko will, for the most part, help anyone, even if it means actively shooting herself in the foot to do so. We see this constantly in the show. In episode 2, she jumps in front of Diana's spell just to save the Papiliodia, and on a whim at that. And while small, in the first episode, she doesn't hold a grudge against Susie for attempted human sacrifice. In fact, later in episode 8, she risked her own well-being to rescue Susie from her self-induced coma. The one thing Akko likes to gamble with more than her life is her education status. Countless times she'll help creatures even if it means possibly being expelled. While not a creature, Akko helps Lotte sneak out to go to a Nightfall event. This is small compared to when Akko decided that resurrecting the dead was a good way to spend a Tuesday. She spends most of that day chasing after him to make sure he doesn't attack anyone, and eventually helping him be reunited with his daughter. To be fair, both of these times were Akko cleaning up her own mess, but I promise she has times when she helps with no strings attached, like when she helped Constance by getting in the way and being a nuisance for most of it. Okay, what about the time she helped out Diana by following her to her house after specifically being told not to? Oh, wait, what about the time when Akko goes to save Professor Pisces from the ocean because Akko flushed her down the drain? Yeah, Akko has a small tendency of sticking her nose where it doesn't belong and helping even when she is not needed. But I promise you, I have a few examples of Akko being kind with no strings attached, and in some cases, her helping is even running completely counter to where her goal is, like in the episode where she helps Diana. While she was an uninvited guest, after learning that Diana was in danger, she tried her best to help Diana complete the ritual, even though the completion of said ritual would mean Akko failed to bring Diana back. At that moment, Akko didn't care because her friend was in danger. There was also the time in the Orange Submariner when Akko, yes, helped find her teacher who she almost killed, but she also saved a rare and endangered fish at the risk of her own grade. Akko didn't even know they were endangered. She just knew that the fish were in trouble, so she used what was left of her magic to save them. Remember when we talked about Aryha and how Akko helped the Vaal Rose? She did this out of the kindness of her heart. She decided to help because she didn't like the idea of the Vaal Rose being sad for its entire life, even if it meant risking her and her friends' well-being and the integrity of the festival. See? I told you there were times when Akko helps with no strings attached. My favorite example, and the example I think best exemplifies her nature of helping even when it harms her in the process, is in episode 14, New Age Magic. In this episode, the fairies go on strike because they don't feel like they're getting enough resources from the Sorcerer's Stone. In Luna Nova, the fairies are responsible for all the cooking, laundry, cleaning, etc. If the fairies don't get back to work, the school will have to shut down, but the school doesn't have any energy to spare. So the headmistress suggests Ursula should go ask the alumni to share their resources. She agrees and goes. In the meantime, the fairies are blocking the Sorcerer's Stone from giving the witches magic until they get their fair share. Croy comes to the rescue though and provides a new way of using magic. As the strike continues, things only get worse as both the heating and lighting cease to work, and since they can't use magic, all of their classwork is bookwork. This is predictably the last straw for Akko. She goes to the fairies to convince them to stop the strike, but instead of stopping it, she ends up joining them as their spokesperson. Diana almost succeeds in convincing the fairies to stop the strike, but Akko butts in, saying that Diana has no idea how laborers feel. Diana gets upset and leaves. Later that night, Lotte asks Akko if she's okay with never being able to use magic again, and she says,
"We're never going to be able to use magic again at this rate. Are you okay with that, Akko?" "Not exactly, but..." "The fairies told me they can't live without the Sorcerer's Stone's energy." "Oh, right. When that dragon took the Sorcerer's Stone, they couldn't move until it was back." "They need the magic stone more than we do. They've had to make do with what little they have. It's hard for them when witches use 90% of the energy." "Well, this is a magic school, so it's normal for witches to use that much magic." "I know, but you both know how I want to become a great witch like Shearylla and use magic to make people happy, right? But I don't want to cause any kind of trouble for people just to accomplish that dream. It wouldn't feel right if someone else had to bear a burden for my happiness."
This is what makes Akko so unique. She has a dream that she's determined to accomplish, but she refuses to step on people to do so. I think a lot of people can learn from that, though I'm pretty sure those people aren't watching an anime about witches. Just a hunch. Anyways, Akko then gets called out for being hungry, and Lotte says she's proud of Akko for thinking her decision through. The next day, negotiations begin with the fairies. Akko demands a 10% increase in the stone's usage, plus health benefits and additional housing energy. Her request gets denied because it's impossible to create that much energy. That's when Croy comes in with their new magic system that can create energy, and honestly a great solution for the issue at hand, but Miss Finnelan, like any boomer teacher, refuses to allow technology in the school because of tradition and whatnot. Later that night, Diana's cohorts convince the Fire Fairy to allow them to take a hot bath by bribing it with a log, but during their bath it gets assassinated, causing the fairies to go from a peaceful protest to a full-on revolt. So, Akko goes to get the magic back, but the imposter fairy attacks them, causing Akko to get saved by Croy's magic Roomba. Then the magic Roomba conveniently stops the revolt and saves the fire spirit. As you saw in the episode, even though the fairy shark encountered what Akko's dream was, she couldn't just sit back and watch as the fairies were being exploited when she learned how bad the issue really was. Even though the fairies were content with Diana's argument, Akko refused her offer on behalf of them, and I believe this is the true extent of Akko's empathy, to help others who can't help themselves, even if it means sacrificing your own dream to do so. Now, technically speaking, Lyonne means thank you, so it's a little bit of a stretch to talk about empathy, so I'll briefly mention that Akko has always been grateful for her friends and teachers for helping her, Even though she can be abrasive at times, when the dust settles, she'll always be thankful for those around her. But that's a discussion for Word 7. Phasansheer Shearylla. This word is all about the bonds that Akko formed and how they helped her towards accomplishing her dream. And what's not the best way to go about this word than discussing Akko's friends and how she made an impact on each one of them. Each of the main girls have one episode dedicated to just them and Akko, with the exception of Jasminka. Anyways, ignoring Jasminka like the anime, let's start this friend train off with the quietest of the group, Constance Amalie von Boschbach Abensberger. I think I pronounced that right? Play the clip.
Constance Amalie von Braunschweig-Albersberger!
Cool. Alrighty. Jesus Christ, that's a mouthful of a name. Constance is our little genius inventor, and her episode with Akko is of course episode 18, Stand Ship Takeoff. In this episode, it's revealed that the Wild Hunt's coming to the town that Luna Nova's in. Akko notices Constance's robot drop something, so she chased after it to give it back, only to murder it in cold blood. Can we get a criminal record for Akko? There's a lot, right? Anyways, Akko goes to Constance's room to apologize, and Amanda reveals that the robot was helping Constance build a weapon and help her in the Wild Hunt. Also, I guess it was revealed that she's participating in it? Akko then accidentally triggers a switch, sending her to Constance's underground lair. Hold up. How is she allowed to have this? Who did she bribe? Seriously, like, not only is there a minecart write down that would have had to be programmed in, it seems like she's the only one who used that space. Whatever. I'm ignoring it. When Akko gets down there, she apologizes for breaking the robot and offers to help, but Constance pulls a gun on her? Whatever. She forces Akko to leave, which angers Akko. The next day, Akko spots Amanda and Jasminka doing Standbot's job, and Akko decides to take over since she doesn't really understand the meaning of the word no. She brings Constance some loose parts but trips and spills them. She tries to see what Constance is designing, and trips and breaks her table, and just continues to break and spill things until Constance has to lock her in a jail cell so she doesn't bother her anymore. Constance tells Akko, well, I guess tells is the wrong word, more like writes to Akko, that she works alone, and Akko can't accept this and tries to break out of jail by transforming into a rat. Akko finally sees what Constance was building and is amazed. Constance spots her and is ready to bash her skull with a wrench. Akko tells Constance that they're both pretty similar since they both obsessed over one thing since childhood and pressed on despite criticism because they would do anything for their dream. Akko asks if she is right, and Constance thinks for a second and denies it, saying she works alone. Akko says that she can't do everything alone, and then she's run out of the lab by Constance's Standbot army. This makes Akko more upset, and it's revealed that Akko's trying so hard to help because she feels really bad for breaking the bot, and her friends tell her that it's better to let Constance work the way she wants to. So Akko stubbornly agrees, until she spots Constance failing to get a mixer from the kitchen since she has very low communication skills. So Akko uses her natural people skills to get it for her. Akko delivers the mixer and witnesses an old monk telling Constance that he can't reveal the location of the sacred Bahamut's tree, that it has nothing to do with money whatsoever. Akko states that she knows exactly where it is and goes to steal it. From there, she tells Constance that while she isn't talented, she does have strong suits like her stamina and ability to take action. So she proposes that she'll run errands while Constance sticks to building. Constance agrees and writes Akko a shopping list. After what I can only assume has been a few days after this agreement, Akko comes up with an idea for the ship, so she sketches it out. After being bullied by the Standbot, she gives the sketch to Constance and it fires Constance up. She immediately gets to work creating Akko's idea. During the Wild Hunt, Constance lets Akko ride the ship with her. The hunt is going really well until Croy messes with the ghost and creates artificial ghosts. Eventually they all combine into a giant ghost, so of course Constance has to transform the ship into a Gundam. Wait, what? A Gundam? In my anime? In this economy? Not only a Gundam, but a Gurren Lagann reference at that? Who thought of that? I mean, Akko is Japanese, I guess it makes sense. She even parodies the phrase from it, and it has the drill aesthetics. Anyways, the ship transforms into the Grand Chariot. This was the sketch that Akko had. It managed to inspire Constance to break most laws of physics to create a Gundam. Akko and Constance use the power of parody to destroy the giant ghost. The next day, Constance builds Akko a broom that allows her to fly. Kinda. Akko thanks Constance, which allows her to finally stop putting up a front and just smile. We don't know much about Constance's past, but for one reason or another, Constance is not only distrustful of people, she even puts up a cold exterior so no one can tell what she's really feeling. At the end of the episode, she has to think about it before she actually decides to smile, because she wasn't sure if it's alright to trust Akko to show her real emotions. Because of Akko's, well, Akko-ness, it allowed Constance not only to start showing her real feelings, but to start trusting other people to help her instead of doing everything herself. We see that Constance refused to accept that she was similar to Akko because that would require her to admit that not only that she let Akko get too close, but also she'd require to admit that she can rely on Akko. It took Akko prying open Constance's heart for her to even begin trusting Akko. That's the power of Akko, baby. She's able to allow people to feel like they're allowed to be vulnerable around her because she won't judge them for their dream. If you remember, this word means to connect with other people and your dream will grow. This is literally what we see with Constance. After she connected with Akko, Akko inspired her to create something she probably would have never thought of, a Gundam. Yes, I keep bringing it up. I will not stop. She built a Gundam. And because she was able to connect with Akko, Constance was able to get a hold of items she might not have been able to get because, as Akko put it, they have very different strengths. While Constance is a mechanical genius, she's incredibly bad at communication. A lot of this is speculation of a character we know very little about, so take all of what I said as a grain of salt, but is it really a stretch to say Akko allowed Constance to come out of her shell, if not just for a little bit? I mean, is it any coincidence that the only spoken word we hear from her is in relation to Akko? So yeah, that's the Akko effect on Constance. Now, on to Amanda O'Neil, and the aptly named Amanda O'Neil and the Holy Grail. The episode starts with Amanda complaining that there's nothing fun to do at Luna Nova, saying that she should just drop out, which Akko calls her out on her bluff, saying that Amanda always threatens to drop out. Amanda then realizes that Akko's doing research on the 7 words, claiming that's all Akko talks about. Akko then proudly exclaims that if she finds all the words, she can finally meet Chariot. Then the rod starts glowing. So Amanda and Akko go to ask Ursula about it. She says that the 5th word is related to history and tradition, but you already knew that. Ursula's explanation is cut short by Miss Finland telling her to go back to work. After Ursula leaves, Amanda tells Akko that the Holy Grail is being held at the all-boys school Appleton. Croy interrupts their conversation, saying that Appleton is a very prestigious school with thousands of years of history and tradition. Croy tells Akko that she'll probably learn more about Chariot if she keeps learning about the words, and Amanda says that means they need to go to the academy. Akko tries to object, but Amanda drags her along. Once they get there, they realize that they'll be in huge trouble if they get caught, so Amanda gives herself an Appleton uniform and Akko turns into a rat. Amanda says that if they get caught, she'll take the blame and get expelled. They start looking around for the Holy Grail with no luck. Eventually, Amanda accidentally bumps into Lewis Blackwell. She picks a fight with him because of course she does, until he notices Akko. He claims that there shouldn't be any since they hired a familiar exterminator. He tells Amanda to give it to him, so she obviously refuses. Andrew interrupts them, immediately knowing what's up. He tells Lewis that he'll throw the rat outside. Once outside, Akko asks Amanda why she's causing trouble, saying that if they get caught, she can't look for the word. Amanda could care less though. She only went to Appleton so that she can make a mark before she leaves Luna Nova. Akko calls her selfish, and Amanda says that she's going to do whatever she wants, and tells Akko to try it sometime. Andrew and Akko talk for a bit, and after getting no answers from him, she goes off to find the Holy Grail again. While searching for it, she spots Croy's cubes and follows them to the Holy Grail. She grabs it and goes to find Amanda. Meanwhile, Lewis is cheating at poker. Amanda notices and calls him out on it immediately. She tells him that if he's going to cheat, at least do it better. He goes to attack her, so Amanda pulls out her wand, but because Akko has the magic router, the magic fails. After Lewis realizes Amanda's a witch, he calls out to the witch KKK and captures her. Then they go to look around for Akko. They start questioning Amanda in their torture basement, like every school has. She doesn't budge, so Lewis says that once they find Akko, maybe she'll talk. Akko then, of course, conveniently comes in to rescue Amanda, only to get caught in the process. Amanda asks Akko why she even came to help, and Akko tells her that they have a chance to escape. Lewis says that the girls have been found guilty and that the punishment is torture, then reveals that he now has the Holy Grail. Understanding that's important to witches, he decides to break it. That's when Amanda pulls a Grunkle stand and breaks the chair under her weight. She starts wrestling Lewis over the Holy Grail. That's when Andrew barges in. He reprimands Lewis and suggests Lewis settle this in a proper way, like a duel, the way all historical figures settle debates. That's what Hamilton taught me, at least. Lewis flips a coin, claiming that when it lands, they start, but he cheats, and since Amanda's hella based, she was ready for it. She calls him out for cheating, and he says that he doesn't have to fight fair when he's fighting a witch. Amanda thoroughly kicks his ass, and he has a temper tantrum, destroying the Holy Grail, unleashing Croix's cubes to possess the knight armor. The armor takes control of Lewis, and Amanda's onto the second phase of the boss fight. Akko gets Andrew to toss Amanda's wand and router towards her. Amanda combines the wand with the sword, getting a power-up and winning. Amanda helps Lewis up and apologizes to Akko about the word. Akko doesn't worry about saying the grail probably wasn't the word. Lewis's bigoted father comes in, telling the boys to seize the witch, but no one will seize the girl who saved their life. Andrew stands up to the chairman, but he disregards it as mind control. Then Lewis says that his life was saved by Amanda. Andrew tells them to leave, and Akko thanks him. On their way home, Amanda apologizes to Akko for causing trouble, and Akko asks her if she had fun. Amanda says that things are never boring with Akko around, and Akko says the same to Amanda. Then they make sweet, passionate sex. Akko tells Amanda not to quit school, that they need to go on more fun adventures. Unlike the Constance episode, this one's a little less obvious in what we can learn about Akko through Amanda. It becomes a little more obvious though when you look at the previous interactions with Amanda. Ever since their first major appearance in the Dragon episode, Akko and Amanda have never really seen eye to eye. Amanda is this rebellious slacker who has no idea what she wants to do with her life, while Akko has an idea of where she wants to go and is determined to get there. I mean, when you look at the broader cast, each of the kids have a reason for going to Lunova and learning magic. All except for Amanda. Amanda has a devil-may-care attitude about almost everything, which leads her to constant squabbles with Akko. What we can learn about Akko is her determination. When you compare Akko, the powerless witch who tries her best at everything, even if she may fail, against the naturally gifted rebel who could care less about her future, you start to realize just how many people take magic for granted if they're blessed with it. Now, this isn't to say Amanda's a bad person. Amanda is willing to fight for her friends. That's like the one thing she really cares about. I think Akko's biggest effect on Amanda is that she gives Amanda an outlet to use her magic and have fun. Akko is constantly causing trouble and getting way in over her head. Because of this, she ends up wrapping her friends into her antics. This allows Amanda to use her magic in ways she feels is necessary instead of some boring class. So yeah, Akko's biggest effect on Amanda, other than giving her a reason to stay at Lunova, is giving Amanda somewhere useful to direct her rebellious nature. Now onto the Queen of Mushrooms, Miss Susie Monbavaron, and her adventure, also aptly named, Akko's Adventure into Susie World. Here's the thing about this episode, it's like super unclear whether it's all in Akko's head or not, just like Majora's Mask. Sorry, I've been looking into a lot of Zelda stuff recently. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to say it really happened, but if you believe otherwise, it's cool. The episode starts out with Susie making a super potion that boosts her magic power to the max, so she can hunt for mushrooms without people. Yeah, right. She decides to test it on Akko just in case it's dangerous, but then disregards it when she realizes it might make Akko a super talented witch. Susie drinks it all and falls into a coma. Lotte tries to wake Susie up, but to no avail. Akko assumes that Susie's fine, and she and Lotte rush out to the dorm before they're late for class. When they get back to the dorm, the entire room is filled with mushrooms, and Susie is still asleep. Akko tries to wake Susie, but it doesn't work. Akko goes to get a teacher, but Lotte doesn't let her because they might get expelled for doing experiments. As a side note, seriously, how much do these girls get into? Like, seriously, let me see the show. I want this show. Sorry I keep interjecting, I just really want this show. After concluding that they can't get a teacher, Lotte figures that Susie must have sleeping witch sickness. To cure it, someone has to go into Susie's mind and wake her up. Akko, being way too ready to get sacrificed, gets sent into Susie's mind. Susie's inner mind is full of predictably mushrooms, to exactly no one's surprise. Akko gets attacked by Devil Susie, and she's stopped by Angel Susie. The angel tells the Devil Susie to just kill Akko peacefully. Akko objects to death by any means and asks to find the sleeping Susie, and the two tiny Susies say that they will only help Akko if she does Susie's laundry, shopping, cleaning her room, and carrying her stuff for a month. They then make her sign a contract, which are contracts legally binding in the world of dreams? I feel like they shouldn't be, right? Either way, the angel Susie tells Akko she lives at Mushroom Hills, which is very far away, to which the devil Susie berates Akko for not being able to ride her broom. It's revealed that the reason the room's filling with mushrooms is that Susie's inner desires are leaking out. Along the way, Akko sees many different versions of Susie, and it's revealed that IRL Susie is just a fraction of who she is. Eventually, Akko meets up with a small, nice Susie, and Akko asks her who she is. Before she can answer that Susie is arrested by police Susie, and is brought to a courtroom where we see different Susies who don't fit the Susie brand. God, this is a weird episode. We see different Susies who don't fit the Susie brand being sentenced to death. Akko sees the child Susie. She stops the judge from sentencing her to death and, in return, gets sacrificed to death herself. Akko uses Devil Susie to escape her capture, then frees the rest of the Susies. Akko then catches a ride from a different Susie who's going to the movie theater. Akko goes with her, only to learn that the movie's about her being a screw-up, and some sweet memories of Susie's memories with Akko. We then see a vision, I guess, of the school burning down, and one of the Susies thinks it's hilarious, and when Akko yells at her for this, she turns into a monster. Akko hightails it to the original Susie, as it's revealed that this is the product of all the Susies Akko saved. It's revealed that the only solution to her problem is waking up the original. Akko makes it to Mushroom Hills and starts trying to find the original, but can't because of all the rooms. She ends up learning that Susie lives on room 666, because of course she does. Akko finds the original and attempts to wake her up, but can't figure out which medicine will wake her, so she puts all of them in her mouth and attempts to kiss Susie. Susie dodges it and they both wake up. It's then unclear if the story was all just a dream or not. God, this is a fucking weird episode. Akko's effect on Susie is just giving Susie compassion. It's made abundantly clear that Susie only cares about herself and her mushrooms. She attempts to use Lotte and Akko as human sacrifices the first time they meet, and continues to berate and experiment on Akko, but as time went on, Susie started to care about things a little bit more. We see this in the Magic Festival when Akko's struggling to perfect her plan, and Susie and Lotte come to offer their help to her because they believe in her. This is comparable to the Broom Race, where Susie only helped as she joined Akko because the prize was something she wanted. It's also shown in the Susie episode that at the very least, Susie cherishes her memories of meeting Akko, for whatever that's worth at least. When Akko learns about the truth behind what happened to Shearylla and disappeared, well, not super obvious on account of the whole deadpanness of Susie, but she seems to care just as much as Lotte about Akko missing. When they go to look for Akko, Susie even grabs Akko's wand, and don't quote me on this, but I think Susie looks for Akko in the same place they met. Susie even comments, "It figures, Akko really did have a way of making us follow her." She even cheers Lotte up when she starts worrying about Akko being gone forever. You cannot tell me this is the same Susie from episode 1. So yeah, Akko's biggest effect on Susie is making her care about people. Now on to the bookworm, Lotte Jansen. Enter episode, Nightfall. The episode starts off with Lotte talking with the person who's a super big fan of her favorite book series, Twilight at Home. She talks about how excited she is to go to the event being held in town. In the morning, the girls are in trouble for sneaking food. After Akko plays semantics with Professor Fenelon, they get a harsher punishment and are forbidden from entering town on the same day the event is taking place. Lotte freaks out about it and says she'll do any other punishment to go into town that day. Professor Fenelon won't budge though. Akko asks Lotte what's so important tomorrow, and Lotte goes on a spiel about how Nightfall is the greatest series in the world and it's having an event tomorrow and the author is finally revealing her face. Akko's a little freaked out by all this, but agrees to form a plan to get Lotte to the event after being guilt-tripped by Susie. The plan's to hop out of the truck heading back to town to get around the requirement for checking out before leaving. Akko's worried about missing the supplementary classes, and Lotte tells her that she can't make a few omelets without breaking a few eggs. After exploring the town, they come across the Nightfall quiz event. Akko asks why Lotte became a fan of Nightfall, and Lotte says that she was teased for being from a witch's family, so to make herself feel better, she went to the local library. That's when she found the books. Lotte admits that the books helped her get through tough times. The event starts and it's revealed that the winner gets Annabelle's pen. Lotte obviously aces the entire quiz and wins the pen, but it's revealed that the writer of Nightfall is actually a bunch of different people continuing a story, and that whoever wields the pen gets the privilege to write Nightfall. It's revealed that Annabelle is getting tired of, well, being Annabelle, and uses this quiz as an excuse to hand off the pen to whoever won. She then disappears. Lotte goes to find Annabelle with the help of Akko with no luck. Lotte explains the situation to Susie and Akko, and Akko thinks it's amazing that she's going to be the next author, and equates it to Akko being chosen by Chariot to be next Chariot. Lotte refutes this idea, saying that she doesn't want to be a writer. Put a pin on this, we're going to touch back on it later. Lotte realizes that Spirit is probably living in the pen and asks where to find Annabelle, and it has no clue. But it's revealed that the pen shows that Annabelle, but she has no confidence in her ability. Lotte claims that she can't accept that position since the books are only getting better. Akko tells her to tell Annabelle that, and Susie tells her if she really knows Annabelle, then she should be able to find her. Lotte remembers that Annabelle really liked hydrangeas, so she goes to find a place with hydrangeas in it, and sure enough, Annabelle's there. Lotte praises Annabelle's writing and her ability to realize subtle things. Lotte starts fangirling about all the cool things in the recent books, and Annabelle says that they were interesting to her, but people just kept complaining. Lotte then asks which one's her favorite, and they start fangirling about shoehorns or whatever, I don't know. Lotte inspires Annabelle to pick up the pen again, and she goes to write. When they get back, they get in trouble for sneaking out. Akko's effect on Lotte is the simplest. Akko gives Lotte something to believe in and look up to. We know that Lotte was bullied as a kid and doesn't really get along with other kids, but Akko doesn't care. She befriended Lotte and thinks everything she does is cool, even if she doesn't fully get it. And by that same metric, Lotte believes in Akko wholeheartedly. Lotte doesn't have a grandiose dream. She's comfortable with living a simple life helping her family. But when she sees someone like Akko, who's reaching out for an impossible dream, it makes her want to encourage Akko. Remember when I said to put a pin in Lotte's conversation with Akko? Well, it comes up now. I believe that what Lotte tells Akko is not only super important to her character, but will nicely lead into the next part. Lotte puts forth this idea of not doing exactly what your idol's doing, that you're allowed to support people doing things that you can't. While not explicitly stated, it's also saying that there are people who strive for the limelight, and as such, people who they need to reach the level of, but not everyone has that type of motivation. Some people have simple goals and just enjoy watching other people who they support get famous. That's the entire concept behind stuff like YouTube, supporting your favorite people and what they do because you believe in them and want them to succeed. Speaking of, you should hit the button down there if you want to help me succeed. Or don't, it's not gonna care or anything. I guess you can just keep sitting there listening to me talk about witches. This tangent kinda leads me straight into the core of Phasansheer Shearylla. While it's obvious that Akko has an effect on everyone she meets through her pure enthusiasm, Susie even comments on this when she says that Akko has a tendency of getting everyone to do what she wants. Akko is, for lack of a better word, an idol. Everyone doesn't want to be just like Chariot or be an amazing witch, but they are all so down to help Akko succeed. That's her biggest effect on everyone, her ability to inspire others to take action and believe in her. Akko's dream is only possible because of the people around her. As the old proverb says, 2 heads are better than 1. Akko's ability to inspire people to help her with everything probably plays out really well in this scene of everyone looking for Akko, and the scene right after the talk with Diana when everyone finally comes to the magic shop.
Lotte! I'm so glad you're here! Hey, it's okay. You're not actually leaving, right? Huh? Are you gonna pack up and quit school? Lotte... No, of course not. I've still gotta chase my dream. I won't leave until that happens.
These two scenes show just how much of an impact Akko has on these girls and how much they care about her. The best example of Akko's effect on other people is in the last episode. But before we get there, we have to mention one more important player in Akko's life, and she has to get her own section because she's that important. So, let's talk about Diana Cavendish and her relationship with Akko. Diana's probably the most important character to Akko's character arc. She forces Akko to change and improve, essentially challenging her at every level, but also supporting her when needed, and Akko does the same for Diana. Diana and Akko are both working towards a very similar goal without realizing it. That is, they both want to unlock the Grand Triskelion. Akko wants to meet Chariot while Diana wants to aid in Magic's revival. But still, they're both trying to unlock the Grand Triskelion. So, let's talk about their first meeting. After Akko spends her first half of her first day sleeping and being bored, she complains at lunch that class is super boring and wonders how Chariot was able to learn in this environment. Diana interrupts her and tells her that Chariot is a disappointment to the school, and that she needs to stop thinking of Chariot as a model. Akko obviously refutes this, saying her shows were popular, and Diana tells her that times have changed and no one really cares about her anymore. Akko yells at Diana that she cares about Chariot for giving her her dream, and that she's gonna find Chariot and give her her rod back. Diana, intrigued by the idea of Akko having the rod, agrees to see it, but when Akko fails to perform a spell, Diana disregards it as a fake, then shows her up with an advanced magic spell. Diana then lectures her that magic takes time and effort to learn, not just intrigue and a fad. Akko gets really depressed over this incident, and Lotte and Susie cheer her up. Akko talks about how she has every Chariot card but one. Meanwhile, the teachers are trying to deal with the weakened memorial tree. Diana, after learning that the tree is weakened, attempts to help by using revitalization magic. But it backfires, causing whatever was feeding off the tree to gain even more nutrients. The tree also starts growing out of control, and Akko notices and goes to check on it. Diana tells them to leave, and then starts to exterminate the vermin. Akko, upon realizing that these are actually the pupa from the Papiliodia, the butterfly that's said to hatch every 120 years and is said to bring hope for those who see them, tries to stop Diana. Diana keeps attacking them, so Akko's forced to jump in the way of her magic. Diana's worried about Akko, then is surprised when Akko recognizes the pupa as the Papiliodia. The shiny rod starts to sparkle, and Akko goes to cast the Papiliodia spell, but is having trouble with the pronunciation. Diana gives her the correct pronunciation, allowing Akko to hatch them. Diana is left alone with the tree as the teachers come by. They praise Diana for saving the tree, but she tries to tell them that Akko did it. But they just think she's being humble, so she runs off. This episode does a great job at showing off the difference between the girls. For all intents and purposes, they're essentially in two very different worlds. Diana is the most promising witch in all of Lunanova, being recognized by students and teachers alike. She worked as hard as she could to get where she is, even overcoming her magic being stolen. Meanwhile, Akko is the newest student in Lunanova with no magic experience. She wasn't given any opportunities to practice magic yet, so of course she's bad at it, especially since her magic was stolen. Since Diana grew up in a magical society, she was forced to give up on her idolization of Chariot and to work for the good of magic as a whole and to be head of her family. Meanwhile, Akko's working for herself in her dream. She doesn't have anything to prove to anyone, nor was she forced to give up her idolization of Chariot. And because of this unique outlook, Akko is able to encourage people to be the best they can be, because she doesn't believe in restrictions of society. She, as you know, believes that all it takes is believing in yourself. Diana dislikes Akko originally for this. She sees Akko as just a kid intrigued by a fad who got lucky to even go to Lunanova. She sees the way she gallivants around Lunanova like a playground, causing trouble and having little to no respect for authority. And Akko obviously dislikes Diana because she always shuts down Akko's dreams and is always working in the limits of reality. When she wants to go rescue the Philosopher's Stone from the dragons, Diana tells her not to because she isn't strong enough to fight a dragon. Akko still wants to try though because the alternative is ceasing the use of magic forever. The two of them are fundamentally at odds with each other, and this comes to a boil during the Magic Festival. I went over the 2 episodes that covered this festival earlier, but I want to re-go through it with a focus on Diana and Akko. Also, there's no better place to mention this that doesn't ruin the flow, so I'll mention it here. At this point in the story, Akko started her research into the Grand Triskelion. In a really fun parallel to Akko going about learning them, both of them used the Blue Moon to figure something out about it. But I'm getting off track. The reason I bring this up is because by this point, Diana's pretty certain that Akko owns the Climb Solus, or, as we know it, the Shiny Rod, in case you forgot. That's all. So in the episode, the girls are split into teams and are forced to pick out of a lottery that I'm pretty sure is rigged, but I digress. They have to pick out of a lottery to figure out their role in the festival. Diana gets the best role possible while also guaranteeing herself the title of Moonlit Witch. Meanwhile, Akko gets the worst role possible while also guaranteeing her not to be recognized by the entire class? School? You know, I have no idea if different grades get different festivals. Or, like, is the entire school in on it? I mean, they are drawing stop, this video is already long enough. We need to stop. Okay. So everyone starts laughing at Akko for being on sacrifice duty, and Diana quiets them down, saying that they need to take the festival seriously, thus cementing her role in these episodes as the "it doesn't matter what your role is, you still need to perform to the best of your abilities" person. This will come up again later, but Diana believes that every role is important, which is what also gets her chosen as the executive committee chairman. Akko's then in her room complaining that the event is supposed to be fun, and that there's no way she can become the Moonlit Witch like this. And everyone tells her that she wouldn't have become the Moonlit Witch anyways. And Lotte and Susie say something that I'm only realizing now. They tell her that it's just bad luck and that she shouldn't have gotten her hopes up, which, like, in context makes sense, but whether it was intentional or not, it also works with Akko's dream. I'm gonna go on a side tangent, but that's because this is cool possible foreshadowing, but yeah, like, Akko's dream is to become like Shearylla, but because of bad luck she had her magic unfairly taken from her, making it so she would have to work twice as hard to become like Shearylla. This is exactly like the festival. Akko wants to be the Moonlit Witch, but because of bad luck she's on summoning duty, which makes it even harder for her to be in it. In both instances, Akko works around that limitation she was given through the bad luck, and comes out on the other side a better person and a better witch, and even making people happy in the process. I have no idea if this was intentional, but it's a really cool parallel. Anyways, Lotte tries to have a team meeting, but Akko gets pissy and runs away to go pout. She ends up overhearing Diana helping some students pick out which mirror to use for the festival and eavesdrops on their conversation. Diana tells them to use the most powerful mirror, but to use fairy power to keep it in check. She goes with the girls to get it from the teacher. The girls praise Diana and tell her that she'll definitely become the Moonlit Witch, and she thanks them but restates that it's far too early to know who will be picked. Humble as ever, Diana. Once again, a fun parallel to Akko. Akko hides in the mirror room because reasons. She's stupid. She looks into the mirror that makes her think bad things about herself and turns her into Diana. Also, I'm just realizing this now, but I think that mirror has the Blue Moon ghost in it. Interesting. I'm not sure what to do with this information yet. Akko tries her best to avoid any unnecessary interactions so as not to ruin Diana's reputation, outside of bullying Diana's sidekicks. They really need to stop showing up. I'm running out of different names to call them. As Akko's avoiding people, she accidentally runs into the fairy that cleaned Diana's room. He asks her if she should be heading to her room, and Akko does so. While in there, she ends up finding Diana's secret corner, I guess, and accidentally reads her diary. At that moment, two girls come in and ask her to move the statue, and Akko can't really refuse because that's suspicious. Akko tries her best to use the magic, but predictably can't, and that's when the real Diana steps in, both moving the statue and undoing the spell on Akko. Diana's relatively chill with Akko's identity theft since she knows the mirror did it, but she's really upset with Akko for ditching her duties. Diana then calls Akko out for losing interest in things that don't go the way she wants, then yells at her for being far too busy idolizing Shearylla to even learn the history and tradition of magic. Hey, there it is again. She then yells at her that she has no right to study here. Akko retorts that she has what it takes, and Diana tells her to prove it. Akko storms off, claiming that she will be the Moonlit Witch. Remember when I said that Diana makes Akko improve for the better? Well, this is one of those instances. Because of what Diana says, Akko's forced to look at herself, flaws and all, and while it causes her insecurities to pop up, it also allows her, through some encouragement by Ursula, to begin doing magic for herself instead of other people. Because of Diana, Akko not only had to confront her deep insecurities, she had to adapt, causing her to go about her duties in a super unique way, wanting to make the Valros laugh instead of cry, believing that magic should be used to make people happy. Also because of Diana, Akko starts working twice as hard to master the transformation spell, causing her to stay up all night practicing. Now, am I insinuating that the only reason Akko mastered transformation magic and cured the Valros sadness is because of Diana forcing Akko to introspect on her abilities, and not the theoretical abilities of Chariot? Yeah, I am. I mean, the writing's on the wall. Akko vowed to Diana that she'll become the Moonlit Witch, and proved that she has every right to go to the school, and while she didn't become the Moonlit Witch, this is the third time she gave Diana a run for her money. Diana's chosen to be the Moonlit Witch, and she asks why Akko wasn't chosen instead, and Longery says that Akko and crew were disqualified for breaking the rules, and Diana's questioning why she feels so bad for winning. Like I said earlier, this is the third time Akko gave Diana a run for her money, and the second time Diana got praised for something Akko should have been praised for. We see time and time again that while Diana prides herself on being the best at the school, she won't feel right unless she earns it fair and square, and time again, she sees Akko robbed of the glory she deserves. And we learn later on that Diana's jealous of Akko for being able to pull off amazing feats, while still being so bad at magic. I'm not sure if this is a fair comparison or if anyone will get it. I'm not sure the overlap between musical fans and anime fans. But as I'm writing this section, I keep thinking that Diana and Akko's relationship early on keeps reminding me of Hamilton and Burr from, well, the musical Hamilton. And I have no idea why, I just keep thinking about it, and now you have to too. I think it comes down to the scrappy outsider ready to prove themselves to the world, being put up against the well-mannered insider who has all their relatives dead and is just trying to uphold their family legacy by being patient and letting their actions speak for themselves. But the scrappy upstart comes in and befriends the outcast and is suddenly pulling off amazing feats and is completely reckless. Like I said, it keeps coming to my mind and now you have to live with it. Man, if I had a nickel for every time I mentioned Hamilton in a video talking about witches, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's really weird that's happened twice now. Now, back to the magical girls becoming friends in the episode we've all been waiting for. The one where Akko stalks Diana back to her house to convince her to come back to Lunova. This is the last episode that focuses on Akko's friends, so without further ado, let's start. The episode starts with Diana remembering a memory of her late mother, where her mother tells her about Sybilladura the Lelladybura, and that she'll be the one to open the door one day. Then it shows Diana in an empty room. The episode then cuts to Akko walking in and Diana's buddies crying. Then we see Diana telling the teachers that she'll be leaving Lunova. They try to stop her, but to no avail. Hannah and Barbara, hey, I said the real names, then tell Akko that Diana will be leaving to become head of the family. Akko asks them if she can just finish school first, and the girls tell her that now's the only time she can be elected as head of the family. They tell Akko that she's leaving at midnight, and Akko immediately tells Ursula that Diana's leaving, but Ursula already knows. Akko asks if the school can convince her to stay, and Ursula just shakes her head. So Akko decides to take matters into her own hands. Akko goes to find Diana on the broom bridge thingy to leave. Akko confronts her about leaving, saying that she would never quit after coming so far. Akko starts spouting off possible solutions, and when Diana still doesn't answer, she starts getting aggressive. Diana finally says that when students leave Lunova, they're supposed to go unnoticed. So speaking to Akko breaks that tradition, then tells her to leave. Akko tells her that she doesn't care, she won't let Diana quit, and Diana expected as much and tells Akko that she doesn't need her permission. Akko tells her that she refuses to let her rival get away, and Diana shuts down that notion, saying that they were never rivals. Akko, after being a little hurt by that, says that for her, going to Lunova was a lifelong dream, since Chariot went to that school, but now it's more than that because she was able to experience and meet amazing people and things. She says she loves them just as much as Chariot. She then asks Diana how she feels about Lunova, and Diana tells her that everyone leaves eventually and that she's a proud Cavendish, a family of honor and tradition. Akko asks what that has to do with Diana, and she says that she should mind her own business. When Akko tries to refute, Diana tells her to go back to looking for the 7 words. Akko's surprised that Diana knows about them, and Diana reveals that she was doing some side research on them. Diana says that she wished to find and unlock them so she can help countless people and bring honor back to magic. Akko tells her to go look for the words as well, and Diana yells at her that only she can do it because the rod chose her. She then tells Akko to go back to her studies and become a witch worthy of the words. She admits that she'll miss it at Lunova, then leaves. Akko, unable to take no for an answer, forces Ursula to break teacher confidentiality and give her Diana's address. As she's leaving, Lottie and Susie give Akko her rod and bag, and Akko sets out on foot for the Cavendish estate. It cuts to Diana being brought into her castle of Pokemon the first movie style. Diana is greeted by her maid, who apologizes for not being able to postpone this until graduation. Diana dismisses it, saying that her going to school was selfish anyways. Diana's aunt comes down the stairs and says that she was surprised that Diana showed up unannounced and at night. Diana responds that she'll be staying at the castle for a while. Her aunt tells her that they'll be having guests over the next day. Diana asks who the guest is, and the aunt dismisses it and tells her to go to sleep. And Diana agrees. The next day, Akko is picked up in Andrew's car and taken to Diana's house. Andrew and his father are welcomed into the house by Diana's aunt. She's confused about who Akko is, though. When Diana walks in and spots Akko, she yells at her for coming in. Akko says she isn't going to give up that easily. Diana's aunt asks Akko what witch family she's from, and Akko tells her she's not from one, which really upsets the aunt. The 2 cousins call Akko a pathetic excuse of a witch and insinuate that Akko came to win favor with Diana. The aunt tries to kick Akko out, but Diana jumps in, calling Akko an upstanding young witch, then reprimands her aunt for treating her guests poorly. She then leads Akko to her room. Diana tells Akko that she needs to leave tomorrow morning, then tells Akko to behave herself. Akko interrupts Diana to say that her mansion is amazing, then gets yelled at to pay attention to Diana's words by the maid. Akko's outfitted with one of Diana's dresses from when she was 11. Akko starts looking around Diana's room and is surprised to see that Diana likes cute stuff. Diana yells at her not to touch her stuff. Specifically, she didn't want Akko knowing she owned a chariot card, specifically the one she needs to complete her set. As the maid is dressing Akko up, she reveals that kindness is the cornerstone of the family, and that she should be thankful to Diana. Akko dismisses the notion, and the maid continues saying that she has always been a caring person. Akko finally connects a few dots and realizes Diana's mother is dead. It's revealed that Diana lost both parents at a young age, and Akko starts to regret saying what she did to Diana the day prior. She asks if she still intends to bring Diana back to Lunova, and Akko immediately responds with an "of course." The maid reveals that the Cavendishes are over if she doesn't become the head of the family, because the aunt's actively depleting the family's resources. Later during dinner, the aunt starts selling off the Cavendishes' family heirlooms to Andrew's father, but he doesn't want any of them and leaves. Although this, for good reason, pisses Diana off. She yells at her aunt for trampling over the Cavendishes' family history, and the aunt says that honoring tradition got them nowhere. She claims that Diana's mother helped people out of tradition and it made them poor. The aunt claims that magical days are over and that Diana has to accept that. Diana calms down and says that she can accept her aunt's ways and resolves to become head of the Cavendishes. So she goes to the ritual. Akko tries to stop her and ask her to talk things over with her. Diana tells her that Akko has no say in the matter because she already decided. Andrew tells Diana to at least hear Akko out, and she says she doesn't have much time to spare. Akko asks if there's anything left to Lunova that she still wants to do, and Diana tells her no and leaves to do the ritual. Akko and Andrew are told by the maids that only Cavendishes are allowed to enter the sanctuary. She also explains the rules behind the ritual, something against eclipse, something unicorn horn. Meanwhile, Diana gets trapped in snakes by her aunt, making it so she can't continue the ritual. Andrew and Akko have a conversation about Akko trying to bring Diana back, and Andrew tells Akko that Diana doesn't act rashly and that she must have thought this through a lot. Akko agrees but can't accept Diana's choice. Akko says that since Diana's stubborn, it's weird that she'd quit Lunova without graduating. Akko wonders what Diana's reasoning is for going to Lunova since she was an expert in everything. Akko says that she must have been planning something by researching the 7 words. Andrew corrects Akko on her thinking that Diana was a genius from the beginning. He reveals that Diana couldn't use magic when she was younger. He says that grown-ups gossip about Diana not ever being able to use magic and that Diana didn't let any of that stop her. According to Andrew, Diana spent most of her time practicing magic instead of hanging out with other kids. He then says that Akko might be right about assuming that Diana had good reasons to attend Lunova. They then overhear Diana's cousins talking about the plan to sabotage Diana. They then ask the aunt how the plan went, and she reveals that Diana was dealt with without a fight. Akko immediately decides to help Diana. She begs the maid to let her in since Diana's in trouble. The maid finds this unbelievable, but Andrew backs her up. The maid denies them from access because of tradition. Akko tells her that now is not the time to follow tradition, and once again, Andrew backs her up. The maid tells him that a terrible misfortune is said to befall anyone who intervenes with the ceremony, and Akko believes that's a risk she's willing to take. With the help of Andrew, she makes it through the door, but tells him to stay back. The maid begs her not to go, but Akko does so while telling her that rules are meant to be broken. Akko gets to Diana's tree pathway and transforms into a mouse and crosses it. She saves Diana but gets attacked and poisoned in the process. Once Diana regains consciousness, she saves Akko and brings her to the medical facilities under the castle.
Are you awake? Diana, it seems your recklessness knows no bounds. I just wanted to help you, that's all. I believe you. Really, you're so incorrigible. There's no telling what you'll get yourself into.
Diana, your ceremony!
Even if I were to head to the sanctuary now, I wouldn't make it in time.
What? No way! Why didn't you go on without me? I thought that you wanted to take over your family.
I wasn't about to just leave you there wounded like that. Besides, didn't you seek to stop me from participating in the ceremony in the first place?
Well, I guess that's true. I'm really sorry.
Don't apologize. It's not your fault. The truth is, I simply was not capable enough.
This scene does a great job at showing just how similar the two girls are. Both of them sacrificed their goal to help the other. Akko sacrificed the possibility of Diana staying at Lyonne to help her attempt the ceremony, and Diana sacrificed the ceremony to help the poisoned Akko. I also think that Diana thinking about all the insane things Akko has done throughout the years adds to it, showing that just as much as Akko is impressed and slightly jealous of Diana, Diana's the exact same way towards Akko. Akko asks about where they are, and Diana explains that this is a covert hospital from the medieval period, saying that when wars were broken out, her ancestors would help those wounded with magic regardless of who they were, even enemies. Diana leaves the hospital and leads Akko towards the library that houses 1500 years of Cavendish history, with books detailing healing magic research. She reveals that since medical science is on a rise in popularity, most of the knowledge was forgotten. Akko looks around amazed until she spots Beatrix and exclaims that she's one of the 9 old witches. Diana explains that she's the matriarch of the Cavendish family, and that her magic was responsible for saving countless lives. Diana reveals that her mother worked as a peacemaker up until the moment she died. Akko asks what happened, and Diana reveals that it was a mix between poor health and her exerting herself far too much. She then exclaims that she's proud to be Cavendish, explaining that that's her reasoning for protecting the house. Akko, moved by her words, explains that Akko can't give up now. Diana denies that sentiment, stating it's too late now, and Akko yells at her that she won't know until she tries. Akko encourages Diana not to give up on her dream.
I never knew that you had something so important to you. I think it's wonderful. I really do. So please, whatever you do, don't give up on your dream. You have to protect what you love.
Akko.
Once you do, please come back to school. Huh? You can work on both your family and your studies. That would be awesome!
I don't know if I could do that.
Of course you could! There's no doubt of it in my mind. Believing in yourself is your magic.
Believing is my magic.
This scene does a great job at showing Akko's belief in people. She asks a really hard task of Diana. When she denies that she's even capable of doing it, Akko doesn't even bat an eye. She just tells her that of course she can. All she needs to do is believe in herself. This is slight speculation, but I feel like Diana never really considered the option of doing both. I feel like she had always assumed it was either one or the other because she didn't even attempt to do both. Either way though, Akko's words speak to Diana on a personal level. As we know, Diana was a huge fan of Chariot when she was little, so obviously she had heard that mantra 100 times before, and even heard Akko say it to herself so many times, but this is the first time it's directed specifically at her in such a personal manner. Akko knows Diana and, for the most part, what she's capable of. So for Diana to hear those words from Akko at that moment directed towards her, it strikes something in her. Plus, Diana has seen the amazing feats Akko's pulled off by believing herself. So because of all this, Diana finally starts to think of being a little less calculating and a little more reckless like Akko. She will rely a little more on believing rather than pure facts. After Diana repeats Akko's mantra, the shiny rod starts glowing. Diana immediately realizes what's happening and tells Akko to repeat after her, and they both recite the 5th word. There's the context of the 5th word, finally. We got there. Anyways, after reciting it, the shiny rod turns into Chariot's broom, Shiny Valley. Akko encourages Diana to use it, and Diana hops on as Akko hops on with her. They blast out of the library and head straight for the sanctuary. Akko tells her that they still have time to complete the ceremony. They continue speeding towards the sanctuary as they're stopped by the aunt and her daughters. Diana ignores them and flies right past their attacks. The aunt still tries to stop her, but they're struck down by the disaster that happens to those who interfere. Diana runs to check on them. They beg for mercy as time is running out in the sanctuary. Diana chooses to help her aunt rather than complete the ceremony, throwing away the opportunity to become head of the family for now. The next day, the maid tells her that it was her choice to abandon the ceremony and that she doesn't regret it. The maid walks up to Diana and hands her her chariot card back, telling her she doesn't need to hide anymore, and to make her childhood dream a reality. She tells Diana that she needs to go back to Lyonne, and that until the day she decides to return to the mansion, she'll make sure to keep it safe and sound. She tells her to live her life as she pleases. Diana thanks everyone and takes Akko back with her. Diana swallows her pride and actually thanks Akko for everything she did, and Akko tries to milk it for all it's worth, but to no avail. I would like to point out her small appearance in the Wagandi episode as well, where she says,
Better to regret something you've done than something you haven't. It's a good thing to be courageous, okay?
You're confusing courageousness with recklessness.
You know, they say if a witch touches the Wagandia tree's pollen, she will lose her magic power and the ability to fly forever. And though it's true you don't seem to be able to fly right now, you might be able to someday if you keep working hard. I doubt you'd want to lose the possibility, right? So don't you think you should listen to Professor Ursula?
The scene does a good job at showing Diana's concern. While she doesn't outright say it, she's genuinely concerned for Akko's well-being, and the way she shows it is by telling her all the reasons why it's a bad idea in a very condescending way. I also like that it shows that Diana does believe that Akko will be able to fly with enough hard work, which is massive improvement since the beginning. That's all, so the next big Diana-Akko stuff is during the last 3 episodes. At this point, we're all aware that Akko disappears after being told the reason she's bad at magic is because of the chariot. When it's obvious that Akko's been gone for a suspiciously long time, Lotte and Susie tell Diana about her being gone, and Diana tells them to tell her everything. She then suggests telling Ursula about it and goes to confront her. Diana tells Ursula that Akko's missing and asks if Ursula knows anything. Ursula apologizes. Diana questions her on why she's apologizing and then asks to finish their conversation from earlier. She says she's busy at the moment, so Diana gets straight to the point and asks her if she's Chariot. Ursula confirms it, and Diana begs Ursula to tell her what happened to Akko. Ursula reveals everything, and Diana yells at her for not chasing after Akko. Ursula apologizes and says she's no use to Akko now, and Diana yells at her that Akko is in need of her now more than ever. Ursula tells her that she can because she has other matters, and Diana, getting more and more upset, says that she can't believe that any other matter can be more important than Akko currently. She then calms down and says that everyone else will be finding Akko, and then pulls a mom card and says she's disappointed in who she is now, then leaves to tell everyone the news. Diana doesn't reveal Ursula's secret, but does reveal everything else that happened. Diana tells them that they need to go find Akko, and everyone agrees. Diana, before heading out, grabs the chariot card. Diana finally finds Akko sitting on a bench in the freezing cold. We went over this scene way earlier in the video, but I need to show it again.
Listen, Akko, there's something that I'd like to show you.
A premium chariot card?
I understand that you were an avid collector.
But why would you have something like this?
When I was little, I was a big admirer of Shiny Chariot as well.
What? You were a fan? Is that really true?
More than you could know. I remember early on, she had already been drawing some controversy. I had to collect these in secret as a result. Being able to go see her show seemed to be an impossibility. Even so, that didn't stop me from dreaming about it. And one day, my mother arranged a trip overseas, and fulfilled my dream at last.
Huh? You traveled just to see her show?
We did, to your country.
So we saw the same performance.
It was wonderful. I recall that night as if it were yesterday.
But in actuality, there was a time when she couldn't use magic.
So, that was the reason why you couldn't use magic back then?
You already knew about all that?
I did. I heard it from Andrew. He also told me how you never gave up, and worked hard to be able to use your magic again.
Is that so? What happened to us was unfortunate. There's no denying that fact. But I have no sympathy for you. I'm certain you can regain your power. What I've gone through should be proof of that fact.
I should have known. That's so you. Both our powers were absorbed in exactly the same way, but you worked really hard and became an amazing witch. Meanwhile, here I am, still not being able to fly yet.
Do you know why I didn't give up back then?
Wasn't it so you could become the head of your family?
Certainly that was part of it, but if that had been my only motivation, I would have surely become overwhelmed and given up long ago. We're actually quite similar.
What?
Just like you, I was so enchanted by Chariot's magic. I remember when I saw her for the first time. My heart was pounding so hard from excitement. It was then that I realized how much I loved magic. That amazing feeling she left me with is what gave me the strength to keep going and persevere. However, the more I learned about magic, the more I learned of the expectations people had for me. And so in due time, I grew apart from Chariot. I had to leave childish things in the past. I convinced myself that I had to grow up and locked those dreams away. But the reason I chose to go to Luna Nova was because that was the school Chariot attended. To be honest, I didn't much care for you when we first met. Why? You kept talking about how much you loved Chariot and you were so bad at your studies. You would do all sorts of reckless things which would get everyone else into trouble. Yet somehow, you managed to pull off these amazing feats I could never do. Your magic had a strange charm to it. I envied you. I really did.
Come on, that's impossible.
Come to think of it, perhaps the reason I wanted to leave Luna Nova was because I wanted to get away from you. Because I knew that you were closer to Chariot than I would ever be.
Diana!
I want to give this to you. Perhaps its message will help you.
Is believing in myself really enough, though?
I know it is. That's what makes you special, Akko. That magic within you, no one else can rival.
This scene is interesting for a number of reasons. I really like that Diana essentially trades roles with Akko in this conversation, playing the role of the optimist. Obviously, we also fully see the extent of the similarities and differences between Akko and Diana. Remember when I said that Diana is super important to Akko's arc? This is like 90% of the reasoning. Diana helps Akko through the hardest parts of her arc with no one to look up to, and all hope is lost in her ability to learn magic. Akko, believing her entire life has been a lie, Diana came in and gave Akko a new outlook, showing Akko that believing herself truly does work as her magic, because she was able to overcome the same issues that Akko faces. But she also doesn't baby Akko. She tells her straight up that she has no sympathy. If she was able to overcome it, then Akko should be able to as well. She also shows Akko that while looking up to Chariot isn't an issue, she also needs to look up to herself. She needs to know that believing herself is her magic. She genuinely compliments Akko, even revealing that she envied her at some points. As Diana says, Akko's magic is super unique and no one can rival it. It's kind of what Akko's been needing to hear the entire series, and just like when Akko told Diana that believing herself is her magic, when Diana tells her that, it feels so much more impactful. Diana and Akko have never seen eye to eye ever, but now when the chips are down and all hope is lost, not only has the magical prodigy of the school been the one to find her, she's the one to tell Akko that her magic is cool, that believing herself is her magic, just as Akko gave Diana the strength to try against all odds to make it to the ceremony. Diana returns the favor, encouraging Akko not to give up on her dreams. Now that we have a better look at Diana and Akko, let's finish the analysis by looking at the last two episodes and how they both relate to Akko and Diana's relationship, but also what it tells us about how Akko has grown. After cheering Akko up, the girls all spot Croy's monster heading towards Luna Nova, so they decide to head back, but on their way back, the ley lines stop working, causing them to crash land into the force of Arcturus. They realize that their magic doesn't work and decide to go follow the tracks Croy's ship left behind. Eventually, the girls get to the area where Croy and Chariot are. They walk in as the two teachers are fighting one of Croy's monsters who malfunctioned. Immediately, with the help of Diana, Akko casts Moreau to attack the monster. Both girls were holding on to the shining rod and said the spell at the exact same time. I am pointing this out because not only is this the spell we see Diana use in the Papiliodia episode to kill the pupas, but it's also the spell that hit Akko. I'm also pointing this out because for them to attack, it takes Akko's connection and belief in the shiny rod and Diana's mastery over magic to be able to attack the monster. I think that's an amazing way of not only continuing showing off the 5th word in action, but it also does a great job of showing the 7th word in action. and how close Diana and Akko have gotten. Akko isn't able to properly attack without her friends, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Ursula gets attacked by Croy's monster after she saves Croy, so Akko saves her by reciting the first word and piercing with an arrow from the shiny arc. This also ends up restoring magic to everyone again. Akko calmly approaches Tyria and, well, I showed you the scene earlier, but just like the one with Diana, I want to look at it again under a new light.
Alright! Akko really did it!
Akko. Chariot. It's really you. Here you go. But this rod isn't mine. I made up my mind to give this to you once I found you. Please accept it. I saw one of your shows when I was a kid. It was so beautiful and cool. It felt just like a dream. Seeing it really moved me. It was then that I decided to become a witch. I thought that if I became one, I'd be able to see Chariot again. Doing so was my biggest dream. And now that I've finally met you, my dream, it came true. Akko. But you know, this is all thanks to everyone. I'm so glad that I'm friends with them. All of them. I caused lots of trouble, but they always helped me. That's why I'm here. Without them around, I never would have made it this far. I'm so grateful to them and, well, to you too. You know, it's still strange to think that you're actually Chariot. Because to me, you've always been my teacher. That's why I was hoping you could keep being my professor instead. Akko. What I did to your magic was... Professor! I get it now! I know I'll never actually be Chariot. I wanted to be like her so I could gracefully soar the sky and use beautiful transformation magic. But Chariot is Chariot, and I'm just me! All I can do is be myself, even if being myself means that I can't fly and I always mess everything up. Akko. Professor, just wait. I will work hard, and then I'll be a witch who makes everyone smile. Because magic will always be the most wonderful thing in the whole world to me. I want to learn more. So keep teaching me magic, please. You still want me as your teacher? You're the best one there is. Thank you, Professor. I love you. Akko, you helped me make my dream come true. The rod. Hey, Akko. Huh? Take what you're feeling now and put it into words. The final word is sure to activate. Everyone, together. If we all chase our dreams, we can change the world. Phasansheer, Shearylla!
As I said earlier, this scene shows a lot of growth from Akko, and is by all accounts the conclusion to her arc. I'd even go so far as to say that this is the scene Akko truly embodies each of the 7 words. She talks about the hardships and the determination of following her dream like the first 2. She fully accepts that she can only be herself like with Aryha. She tells Chariot to wait, showing that she's willing to take it slow and be patient to make her dream come true like in the 4th word. And obviously Diana was included in not being able to make it without her friends, which is automatically the 5th word. And she thanks all of her friends and Ursula for putting up with her, which is the 6th word, and well, she obviously gains the 7th word through this speech, unlocking the Grand Triskelion in the process. I also really like the last thing she says. Everyone, together. If we all chase our dreams, we can change the world. Because that's the embodiment of everything this show's about. Unabashedly follow your dreams and you'll change the world with the help of your friends, of course. As Akko unlocks the Grand Triskelion, she gains a twig and learns that the true world-altering magic were the friends she made along the way. Alright, good night everyone! Fine. She's confused about the twig and immediately asks Diana, and she's just as confused as everyone else. Lotte tells her to just use it, so she does, combining it with the shiny rod, causing the vegetation to grow all over Kroi's machines, and just overall brightening everything up. Everyone group hugs except Diana, as Kroi's magic beast possesses a missile and starts hurling itself towards the neighboring country. This freaks everyone out. Kroi explains that the magic beast is out of control because of all the hatred in the world. She didn't account for so much. She laments that there's nothing she can do since she can't remotely stop it, but Akko refuses to accept that. She claims that they can stop it if they just work together. No one believes that they can catch up to it, let alone stop it, and Akko says that they still have to try at least. She compares all of them to the 9 old witches, and says that as long as they have magic on their side, they can think of something, and Diana agrees, saying that the best course of action is to beat the magic beast with magic, and I honestly think that Diana would never have agreed to this in the beginning of the show. She would have just told Akko that she's being reckless and that it's impossible. But after spending so much time with Akko, Diana's learned to believe in herself and her friends, deciding that they don't have much to lose. Chariot's stunned by how brave the girls are, but Kroi still believes it's a futile attempt, saying that they not only can't catch up to the missile, even if they could, they don't have enough magic to do it. Akko says that they should still see how far they can go before just giving up. Everyone reluctantly agrees. They get Constance to connect the brooms together, and Akko uses Shiny Valley to make it go faster. Chariot and Kroi change the girls' clothes to a beautiful white and they set off for the missile. Kroi tells Chariot that she's still worried the girls will fail, and Chariot tells her just have faith in Akko. Kroi tells her that they still need a miracle, and Chariot tells her that Akko never believed in miracles. She just believed in herself. This broom ride's the embodiment of everyone using their unique set of skills to support one another. As they head up, Lotte uses her spirit magic to give them a wind barrier to protect them. Jasminka uses all of her magic to get them as far as she can, then detaches from the broom. Constance then uses her mechanical genius to boost the broom, shooting them up like a rocket, and of course detaches. Amanda uses the only thing she's passionate about, reckless flying, and sends them even farther up with the rest of her magic, and detaches. Kroi realizes that somehow footage of the girls is being recorded and being live streamed to the internet. After some government shenanigans, it comes back to the broom ride where Susie and Lotte fuse their brooms together as Susie spills one of her weird concoctions onto the bristles as Lotte gets a fire fairy to burn them, causing them to go even farther as they detach. During all of this, we see different people watching the feet of the witches. This causes people to start believing in them, giving their magic a boost. Kroi notices people's thoughts are being turned into magic naturally. Kroi can't believe what's happening, but Chariot tells her that the two girls still believe that their actions can change people's hearts despite everything that's happened. This gives Kroi the idea of broadcasting the feat of the girls to every TV screen available so that more people can see what amazing things the girls are capable of doing, so that people can see witches in a new light. She then asks Chariot to put on one more performance, telling her to ask the public to give the girls their support. Chariot agrees and tells everyone the situation and encourages everyone to cheer for the girls, telling them that their support will become the girls' power. We also get the added benefit of seeing most of the supporting cast from the show watch and root for Akko and Diana, giving them even more magic, and because of Andrew's history with Akko, he manages to convince the government to stay out of their way completely. This situation also ends up uniting all of the riders under a single cause, stomping out the protests in the process. All of this wouldn't have been possible if Akko didn't convince the 7 girls to blast off after a rocket to attempt to stop it. Akko's belief in herself and her friends allows the world to hope and believe in a cause for once in a very, very long time, and it allows witches to be seen in a better light. The 2 girls gain more than enough magic to catch up to the rocket and start attempting to bring it down. The shiny rod ends up hitting max power, and Akko suggests attempting to change the missile into something less threatening. Diana tells her it's worth a shot and puts Akko at the front of the broom. Akko starts using her metamorphosis magic to turn everything the missile fires at them into stuffed animal-like things. Akko's making the sky glow with bright magic, causing people to cheer and get excited, all while Diana's steering them out of danger. The missile launches off a more powerful attack, causing Akko to start running along many of the tiny missiles it shot out, both transforming herself into animals and the tiny missiles into harmless things. She ends up getting cocky and is pushed off the broom by a stray attack. She starts plummeting down to earth as Diana grabs the shiny rod and follows her down in hopes of catching her, but Diana's held up by the missile's attacks, preventing her from getting to Akko. As she's falling, she's rescued by the shooting star. Diana's worried about Akko, so she loses focus right as the missile attacks, causing Diana to plummet as well. Akko rescues her, now controlling the shooting stars, a fun callback to the broom episode, where Diana rescued Akko with her broom. Apparently she also befriended it? She catches the shiny rod and starts outspeeding the rocket. Through all of the belief coming in from all over the world, Yggdrasil starts to form as Akko begs the Grand Trisalion to change the world so that everyone can laugh as one, saying that everyone's magic is believing in themselves. Diana grabs onto the rod as they both recite the first word, as they both form the shiny arc, sending it straight through the missile, blowing it up, causing it to transform into a giant smiling cloud. This all causes parts of the missile to fly out all over the world, shooting off like, well, shooting stars, causing everyone to smile and be happy as one. The rod starts to disappear and Akko lets it go, thanking it. So remember when I said that Diana's dream was to reinstate magic into the world, and Akko's dream was to make everyone happy with her magic? Well, the two girls ended up doing that, and then some. But they weren't able to do it alone. That's what the show keeps trying to tell you. Diana needed Akko just as much as she needed Diana. It's no coincidence that Diana's with Akko in the final fight. The missile couldn't be stopped by just one of them. I mean, that's obvious enough when you see the entire world united under one belief. And all of that's shown off when Akko and Diana used the shiny arc. It could have been really easy to have Akko drop Diana off after she gained Shooting Star, but that would have been going against the entire message of the show. Instead, not only did Diana stay with Akko until the end, she helped Akko fire off the shiny arc, causing the missile to be defeated, and shooting stars to fly across the sky, making everyone happy, and everyone's new idea of witches managed to revitalize magic. The final battle also shows off probably Akko's greatest ability, her ability to make people hope and believe. Throughout the show and throughout this video, you've seen Akko make people believe in themselves. She's been able to give people hope. Fafnir points it out when he talks about the spark in her eyes. She gives Andrew the courage to stand up to his father. She gives Constance the support to help build Gundam. She helps Ursula with her guilt over ruining Akko's dream. And this is her greatest ability. Her magic, if you will. You see Akko giving out hope on a small scale like in her friend group, but in the final scene, it's on a global scale. The reason Akko is so effective at garnering hope is because she's not trying to. Every action Akko takes, she fully believes in, for the most part. When Akko riles up her friend group to go fight a dragon or a missile, she believes that there's a chance they win. She rarely ever thinks about the possibility of failure because of this. But that's what draws people towards Akko. That's what drew the rod towards her originally. I mean, Akko's dream was always to inspire people the way Shearylla did. Akko wanted to bring hope to a world severely lacking in it. She wanted people to be happy and laugh as one. More importantly, she wants everyone to follow their dreams. Like Akko said, if we all chase our dreams, we can change the world. In the beginning, I'd ask what we can learn from Akko, and there's a lot of correct answers if you were paying attention. But I think the answer is quite simple. What we can learn from Akko is to believe in yourself, and to follow your dream. Your way of doing things may not be conventional, but it's your magic, your unique magic, and believing in that way of doing things is how you will achieve your dream. In a lot of ways, dreams are really hard to achieve. Between the grueling hours and criticism of those around you, it's hard sometimes to keep working towards that one goal that may not even pay off, but if you're patient, all the work you put into making it happen will pay off amazingly. Just remember that while comparing yourself to others may help you grow, don't get stuck in your head if there's someone better than you. Use it as a motivator to grow, not as an excuse to quit. Connecting with others will always help you achieve your dream. Whether you learn from them or inspire by them, it all helps you in creating something the world has never quite seen. So remember to thank them, and if you're brave enough to walk the road less traveled, brave enough to risk it all on a dream, then remember, you'll go through hardships. That's inevitable. There may come times when you fail and lose sight of that dream, but you must never let that flame in your heart go out. Burn that flame brightly and strive for your ideal place, because believing yourself is and will always be your magic. See you next time.